and what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos, and this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, magnificent football Monday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports as we come to you live from Radio Row in San Francisco, California. I would say it's the site of Super Bowl 60, but that's not technically true. The site of Super Bowl 60, Santa Clara, but Radio Row in lovely, is it lovely? We'll talk about that in a few moments. San Francisco, California, Super Bowl 60, Radio Row, bringing you shows all week from here. And if you are not watching the show on YouTube or Twitch, would highly recommend doing so this week. We will have the A-list of A-listers. The guest list is unbelievable from our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, sitting to my left here. The guests are going to be crazy. You're going to want to be watching the show this week on You Better You Bet as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Monday, Super Bowl week, year of our Lord 2026, the world of sports is buzzing. And we're going to get to all of it, including the Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals, literally while I'm in the air yesterday flying to California, hiring new head coaches, Clint Kubiak in Vegas, Mike LaFleur, not Matt, Mike LaFleur in Arizona. We'll talk about those hires and why, unfortunately, for those fan bases, I don't think it'll matter much for the 2026 NFL season. We got a big weekend in hoops we got to dissect, and we'll start in the NBA when we do that with Oklahoma City, the Thunder, showing they are still the big dogs on the block with a big road win at Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. All the bets for tonight coming up in the Power Hour, the final hour of the show, and the guest list on this Monday is awesome. How about this in the final hour of the show? Mike Sando is going to join us from The Athletic. And Mike is basically serving as kind of the de facto mouthpiece for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And you know, because you've listened to the show, you've watched the show, how much respect I have for Mike Sando. He's been on the show a bunch, friend of the show. And Mike's had to basically take the slings and arrows from everybody in the wake of last week's disastrous decision to not elect Bill Belichick to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. I'm going to ask Mike Sando one simple question to start the interview. What the hell's going on with the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Mike Sando will join us in the final hour. Damon Amendolara, my friend from Mad Dog Sports Radio, will join us. Lindsey Rhodes from Sumer Sports will join us. And legendary NFL general manager Ernie Accorsi will join us as well on this magnificent Football Monday. But we begin the show. And we begin Super Bowl week here in San Francisco with gratitude. This set is freaking awesome. Like, to be out here on Radio Row for the fourth consecutive year doing You Better You Bet, and now on this set as part of Westwood One Sports, the set is unbelievable. You literally, I'm looking at the entrance right now to the media center. You walk in, and here's my face. A scary sight for everybody walking in. But here's my face. Here's the big-ass Westwood One set. It is amazing to be out here. Amazing to be a part of Westwood One Sports. You absolutely love it. Bill Zimmerman is here, our executive producer. Andrew Williams is here. The great John Romero is here. Armin Williams is here. All the heavy hitters from Westwood One Sports are in attendance. And just to say this about the city of San Francisco to start, because that is our host city this week. You know, it's a beautiful city, and I have family in San Fran. I've talked to some of the locals here. My family lives in Marin County, which is a very well-to-do, nice area. And it gets when I say that, everyone kind of looks at me funny. Oh, family in Marin County must be nice. Yes, for them it's really nice. I don't live there. And I've been to San Francisco a million times, and it is a great city. You would think driving through, walking through San Francisco at points, like you are in The Walking Dead. And that is not a political comment. It has nothing to do with political party. It's kind of the same way at points in Midtown Manhattan, like I'm from New York City. Just you would hope that as the week goes on and more people get here, because it's Monday morning, it's 6 a.m. local time right now, 6:05 a.m. local time. There's not a ton of people here yet. But by the end of the week, everyone's going to be here, not just media, celebrities, Hall of Famers, etc. You would hope that that's a little bit cleaned up. So just need to start there. It's a beautiful city, and you would hope that it gets a little better as the week rolls along. So one of the reasons I love Super Bowl week, and I've always loved Super Bowl week, it goes back to when I was a kid. Because Super Bowl week meant that at the time, and if you're of a certain age, you'll know what I'm talking about, that ESPN would run the marathon of the 30-minute like Super Bowl games, like the highlight package of the games, telling the story of the games. And I would sit there, 7, 8, 9 years old, and watch all of them consecutively from at the time, like Super Bowl 1 through Super Bowl 24. And then the next one would be added the next year. So I really loved yesterday getting the chance, whether it's on my flight or, landing and seeing it on televisions. ESPN's doing the same thing. And they're running the 30-minute packages of each of these Super Bowl games. I got to see some of Niners-Chargers, Super Bowl 29. Maybe the worst Super Bowl ever played. Steve Young, monkey off his back, 6 touchdowns. Steve Young finally winning a Super Bowl and emerging out of the shadow of the great Joe Montana. Super Bowl 30, with a rivalry renewed with the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cowboys finally beating Pittsburgh in the big game to win Dallas's 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. And then, Super Bowl 31, Brett Favre finally winning a championship, the only one he would win in his legendary career, beating Bill Parcells, Drew Bledsoe, and the New England Patriots. And that got me in the mood. And I start thinking about Super Bowls. And I start thinking about this Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60, coming up in 6 days with the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. At our show sponsor, BetMGM, Seattle, a 4.5-point favorite in the game, total 45.5. And if you're going to think of Super Bowl 60 with the Patriots and the Seahawks, and you consider yourself to be a football fan of any degree, of any measure, do you love football? Do you love the National Football League? Are you a sports fan? Do you have a soul? Then you're going to think about Super Bowl 49. You can't think about Super Bowl 60 with the Patriots and the Seahawks without thinking about the legendary Super Bowl that these two teams played following the 2014 NFL season. February 1st, 2015, Patriots 28, Seahawks 24. Of course, the Malcolm Butler game. Or if this is like Rocky and Bullwinkle when they would have the alternate titles. It's not just, you could call it the Malcolm Butler game, or you could call it the why the F didn't we run it with Marshawn Lynch game, if you're coming at it from a Seattle perspective. And that game with the Patriots and the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 actually serves as one of the great sliding doors moments, one of the great what-ifs, one of the great tipping points in the history of the National Football League. And by an extension, in the history of sports. So let's go back in time as we're approaching that Super Bowl and what was at stake for both those teams. And then we can view it through the present day prism. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around it today, right, in 2026. given what the Patriots were able to accomplish in the second half of the Brady-Belichick tenure. But at that point, New England, after winning Super Bowl 39 against Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid, Terrell Owens, and the Philadelphia Eagles, had gone 10 years in between Super Bowl championships. 10 years. 10 years in between Super Bowl championships and winning 3 out of 4 to start the Brady-Belichick dynasty in Foxborough. 2005, losing on the road in Denver in the Champ Bailey pick-6 game with Ben Watson. The famous AFC Championship game choke in 2006 on the road in Indianapolis against Peyton Manning and the Colts. Losing Super Bowl 42, 18-0 to my New York Football Giants. 2008, Brady tears his ACL. Week 1, Patriots don't even make the playoffs despite going 11-5 with Matt Castle. 2009, Joe Flacco, Ray Rice, and Willis McGahee come to Foxborough and trample the Patriots and was what is still a stunning game to me. You want to talk stunning? How about 2010? 14-2 Patriots. Hosting Rex Ryan, Mark Sanchez, and the Jets. Can't wait. Jets win and knock the Patriots out. 11, lose Super Bowl 46 again to the Giants. 12, lose the AFC Championship game at home to the Baltimore Ravens. 13, lose to the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning on the road. 10 years and numerous times turned away at the very end. Had people asking this seriously, and if you don't remember this, it would serve you well to remember it. Are the Patriots going to get another one? Will Tom Brady ever win another Super Bowl? Will Bill Belichick ever win another Super Bowl? That's what was at stake for the Patriots entering Super Bowl 49. And for the Seattle Seahawks, they were on the doorstep of a dynasty. The doorstep of elevating themselves into legendary status in the National Football League, winning back-to-back Super Bowl championships. They were able to come back in insane fashion and beat the Packers in the 14 NFC Championship game. A game that they I bet Packers money line in that game. That was frustrating. The Brandon Bostic game, the Jermaine Kearse game with Seattle winning in overtime to advance to the Super Bowl. So for Seattle, everything on the line to become a dynasty, and for the Patriots, everything on the line to try and reclaim their status as a dynastic team in the National Football League. Seattle would lead that game in the fourth quarter, 24-14, before Tom Brady, as Tom Brady often did in his legendary greatest of all-time career, would lead the Patriots back. Touchdowns to Danny Amendola, touchdowns to Julian Edelman to put the Patriots up 28-24, setting up the end of the game. One of the most famous or infamous, depending on your perspective, mostly infamous for the country, I would say, given everyone does not like the Patriots, endings to a Super Bowl or any big game in any sport. Seattle had the game won. Run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, and you win back-to-back Super Bowl championships. Darrell Bevell, Pete Carroll, and Russell Wilson call a pass to Ricardo Lockett, not even their best receiver. Malcolm Butler steps in front of it, becomes a Super Bowl hero, and the rest, as they say, is history. And it reminds you of when you'll see sometimes on social media, some like high school relay race where someone starts showboating down by the finish line and gets caught at the end. How the hell do you let that happen? Kramer in the famous Seinfeld episode where he's trying to, with the girl with the bra, right? What's her name? The girl with the bra. Whatever her name is with the, that's Sue Ellen Mishke with the bra. And Stan the caddy says, you got to go for the cup. Have her try it on. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Kramer? Why would you do that, Jackie Childs? Or me, girls into me at the bar that I really like and I get too drunk and I blow it. It's happened more than once in my life. Not ashamed to admit it. That, the Seattle Seahawks at the end of Super Bowl 49. The Patriots would go on to win 2 more, 6 with Brady and Belichick, and Seattle would not get back to the big game until now. And now, the Patriots with a chance to mirror what Tom Brady did in his second year in 2001 with Drake May entering year number 2 to win a Super Bowl championship. And you very much get the sense that even if the Patriots lose this game, this team ain't going anywhere. No. Josh McDaniels has done such an unbelievable job as the offensive play caller for the New England Patriots. And the great thing, if you're a Patriots fan, the great thing if you're Mike Vrabel, the great thing if you're Drake May, if you're a Patriots, someone that wants to bet the Patriots moving forward, is the knowledge that Josh McDaniels ain't getting another head coaching job. Clint Kubiak, Seattle offensive coordinator, is going to be the head coach of the Raiders next year. Josh McDaniels will be the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots as long as he wants to be the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. And that is a great thing for New England. Because as bad as he might be as a head coach, and believe me, he is terrible, a fantastic, one of the best offensive coordinators in the history of the NFL. Vrabel, fantastic coach. A young team. You got to feel good about the Patriots moving forward. And for the Seattle Seahawks, favorites in this game, with a second-year head coach in Mike McDonald, the defensive Sean McVay, building an unbelievable defense with an ascending quarterback, maybe the best receiver in the league, an ascending offensive line, 2 good running backs. You can make the case that the Seahawks could be on the doorstep of a potential long-term run atop the National Football League, even if that doesn't mean multiple Lombardis, that they will be in the mix each and every year. And when I think about Super Bowl 60 and conceptualize in my head how the game will play out, and we can save the finalized bets for the end of the week, and I'll be on Super Bowl Sunday as well, all the props, the side, the total, MVP, etc. What my gut tells me is that we will hearken back to Super Bowl 49 during Super Bowl 60. I expect the Seattle Seahawks to be leading in the closing minutes of Super Bowl 60. Closing minutes can be 2, closing minutes can be 6. In the latter half of the fourth quarter, I expect the Seahawks to be winning. I even expect the Seahawks to be covering at that point. And the question that we will have to ask ourselves, or you can disagree with me, the question that I will ask myself, does Drake May have Brady in him? Have that greatness in him to lead the Patriots back from a deficit to win the Super Bowl? And if that doesn't happen, by the way, it doesn't mean that he stinks. It would be like saying Joe Burrow stinks because the Bengals didn't beat the Rams in Super Bowl 56. That's not what it means. But can Drake May, in year 2, ascend the ladder to football immortality? My sense is he'll at least get the chance to do that coming up on Sunday. And if that doesn't get your juices flowing and doesn't excite you the way it excites me, my brother or my sister, you're listening or you're watching the wrong show. Man, this week's going to be amazing. Radio Row here in San Francisco. I'm so pumped up to have Bill Zimmerman sitting next to me here. Right, Bill? Bill's putting the headset on.
Hello, Nicholas. Oh, yeah, there we go. Hello, Nicholas. How are we?
Yes, and Bill with a Mad Dog Russo impersonation to start the week. I absolutely love it. It is awesome to be here. The guests are going to be sensational. We're going to have amazing breakdown of the Super Bowl. We absolutely can't wait for it. And the guest parade will start next hour. But coming up on the other side, we do have some NFL news that we need to address, specifically the 2 head coaching hires made yesterday on Sunday, while yours truly was in the air, watching, by the way, One Battle After Another, the DiCaprio movie that came out last year. The movie was awesome. I'll give you a Nick Kostos movie review later in the show. We will talk about Mike LaFleur, new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Clint Kubiak, the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming up next, You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM, live from Radio Row in San Francisco, California.
He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and goal, diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
This is You Better You Bet, live from San Francisco on Westwood One Sports. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
Oh, you gotta love our guy, Kenny Henderson. Coming back from break with the Raiders theme song. Kenny, bring that son of a bitch up. Oh, yeah. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won. Unfortunately for the great Raiders fans, and unfortunately for soon-to-be-named Raiders head coach Monday after Super Bowl 60, Clint Kubiak, I don't think there's going to be a lot of conquering and winning in 2026. And I would say the same thing for Michael LaFleur and the Arizona Cardinals. Not that the Cardinal fan base is as big as the Raiders' robust fan base. My expectation for both of those teams in 26, and we'll talk about why, last place in their respective divisions. Coming back from break, that was the dulcet tones of friend of the show, Chris Fowler, a Tim Scanlon client, who's kind of embarrassing everyone in the media. Bill, did you see his Instagram post, Chris Fowler? He's 63 years old. He's deadlifting like 400 pounds. He's in unbelievable shape. Meanwhile, I'm on the plane yesterday ordering the snack pack, eating like salami and like this like cheese spread. Feel like a fat mess. And here's Chris Fowler, like literally deadlifting at 63, 400 pounds. He's got it going on. Chris Fowler's dominating. And they had a great call, obviously, of the national championship game, Fowler and Herb Street, as Indiana beat Miami behind Fernando Mendoza, who we expect to be the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, to the Las Vegas Raiders. So it was a really interesting experience for me yesterday. I'm flying, and I just get I get Wi-Fi on my phone, but I'm reading some books, I'm watching some movies, and I keep getting notifications of coaching hires, right? And it was like one after another, and it's like big stuff, right? Like we'll talk about Raheem Morris, the new DC in San Francisco. I love that hire. And the way the reporting happened was so funny because it was like Clint Kubiak is met with both the Raiders and the Cardinals, the two teams that are last to fill their vacancies. And then it's announced that the Raiders are going to hire Kubiak. And within like 20 minutes, the Arizona Cardinals announced that they're going to hire Mike LaFleur. So if you're Mike LaFleur, I don't know if you care because you're going to be an NFL head coach, but you know that you were at the bottom of the list and that Arizona would have rather hired Clint Kubiak. So I did think that was funny how it played out. Like Kubiak met with both teams. Kubiak's now at the Raiders. And now the Cardinals are happy with Mike LaFleur. Are they happy with Mike LaFleur? I think Mike LaFleur's probably happy he gets to be a head coach. When we think about the Las Vegas Raiders now with Clint Kubiak, it's possible that the Clint Kubiak hire will be an inspired one. And he'll be an awesome head coach. And on paper, at least, as we kind of conceptualize this, whether I never played the game, but whether you did or didn't, you think about Fernando Mendoza's skill set. And think about like the highlight that Kenny played coming back from break, like the great touchdown run from Mendoza in the national championship game. And think about the way Clint Kubiak calls an offense, right? Coming from the Mike Shanahan tree, the Kyle Shanahan tree, and getting the quarterback on the move. And if indeed that's the pick, you can see there being success there with Mendoza as a prospect and his physical traits matching what the new head coach and the presumptive offensive play caller, Clint Kubiak, will want him to do. So this is not to say that the Raiders can't be really good moving forward. I have no idea if Clint Kubiak's going to be a great head coach or not. No idea. And the writing was on the wall, by the way, that this hire was going to be made when Tom Brady spent 3 hours slobbering over Kubiak during the NFC Championship game. When every Kubiak, every Sam Darnold, like, successful throw or JSN catch or Kenneth Walker run, Brady's, oh, my God, KB, what a call by Kubiak. You knew that Kubiak was going to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So maybe Kubiak will end up being an awesome head coach, and if it's Mendoza can be great. I guess my problem is with the 2026 Raiders, And I'm not trying to be a hater, and I'm certainly not trying to be negative here, but we have to tell the truth, right? There can be optimism associated with the Raiders moving forward. The ceiling is, like, really high. The floor is also, we have no idea how it's going to go. I think that they're in big trouble in year one. The Raiders roster is not even close to being able to contend. And the Raiders, and we'll talk more about Mike LaFleur and the Cardinals coming up in a little bit, these two teams have the same problem. And we can call this problem, for lack of a better term, the West problem. You've heard of the West Wing? Well, this is the new Aaron Sorkin show. It's called The West Problem, where Clint Kubiak and Mike LaFleur have to fight against three absolute dragons and giants in their own division to try and make the playoffs. Where Kubiak, you want to be a first-year head coach with a rookie quarterback? Taking over a team that was miserable, that fired a one-and-done potential Hall of Fame coach the year before? Okay, great. Guess who your competition is? The team that just hosted the AFC Championship game, the Denver Broncos. The LA Chargers, who have been to the playoffs 2 years with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh and just hired Mike McDaniel. And, you remember Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs? They'll be back with a vengeance next year. I want to know right now. I want to know what turns you on. Shout out to Joe. I want to know how the Las Vegas Raiders are not coming in last next year in the AFC West. And you might hear me say that or watch me say that on YouTube or Twitch and say, well, obviously they're going to come in last. Well, okay. Just saying, like, as we progress into the summer and everyone starts pumping out tons of content, and this isn't to say that they can't be right. You don't think some people are going to talk themselves into the Raiders? They make the right moves in the offseason and get a couple offensive linemen, and maybe we'll see what happens with Max Crosby. This is, and I really want to hammer this point home, a talent-deficient roster. And you saw it on full display last year with Pete Carroll coaching the team. The fact that the Raiders did not try to retain Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator, he goes to Pittsburgh to be the defensive coordinator for Mike McCarthy and the Steelers, I think is a huge mistake. Patrick Graham somehow was able to coax like somewhat decent play from a defense that had one truly great player in Max Crosby, who may not even be on the team next year. Defense is going to be bad. The offensive line stinks. It's horrible. And yes, it can be coached better, but like the players aren't very good. And yeah, like Bowers is awesome. And yeah, Genty's awesome. Where are the receivers? Like, is Jack Besh taking the leap? Is Thornton taking the leap? Where Tyler Lockett is 55 years. How's this going to go? I'm not saying that the Raiders can't be good down the line. They absolutely can be. And maybe they can surprise next year. And maybe I'm wrong. And Mendoza's great. And Kubiak's a revelation. Just saying, though, I think that year one is going to be really tough sledding for the Raiders. And the win total's obviously going to be low with a first-year head coach and a presumptive rookie starting quarterback. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Geno. We're guessing it's going to be Mendoza. I don't see how this team's winning more than 4 or 5 games next year. And I think people will try and talk themselves into it, and maybe the Chiefs struggle a little bit, and we'll see what happens with the Chargers, and everyone's going to predict a backward slide for the Broncos, and they'll probably be right. I just don't know if it's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter. I can't look at the Raiders, right now at least, with the other 3 teams in that division, and see any hope of competing in 2026. So again, maybe Kubiak's awesome. I don't know if that translates in year one. And maybe Fernando Mendoza's awesome. I don't know if it'll translate year one for the silver and black. We'll talk about the Arizona Cardinals hire of Mike LaFleur in just a second, but look, our show sponsor is BetMGM. And the biggest game of the year calls for a boost pack that's just as big. BetMGM rolling out the big game boost pack, and it gives you 3 different ways to boost the odds on your next big game bet. Here's how it works, so pay attention. First, you log in, and your big game boost pack's going to be waiting for you. How awesome is that? Next, my hope for the people watching this is I may memorize this by like Wednesday or Thursday. Right now, I have to read it. It's like 3 paragraphs. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip and activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with the token activated, you're getting extra winnings on top of your payout. So I'm going to translate this into layman's terms for people. if you're going to bet the big game, do it at BetMGM. Because if you win using these tokens, the big game boost pack, you will make more money as a result of your win. Why wouldn't you do that? So if you're going to bet the big game, do it at BetMGM. If you want to add a little more excitement to your big game action, make sure you grab the big game boost pack from BetMGM so you, dear listener, and you, dear viewer, can make it legendary. Download the BetMGM app today, and as always, please gamble responsibly. You better you bet on this Monday. Radio Row in San Francisco. Nick Kostos here with you, Westwood One Sports. Yeah, we'll save Mike LaFleur and the Cardinals for the last segment. We'll give you a couple minutes here on Raheem Morris, the new defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Raheem, I think, unfortunately for him, he's not nearly as bad as Josh McDaniels. So I want to say that up front. Like, Raheem is not a disaster head coach the way Josh McDaniels is a disaster head coach. But I think it's pretty clear now through 2 stints in Tampa and then Atlanta, and maybe Raheem got a raw deal in Atlanta with the quarterback situation being what it was. I don't know if Raheem Morris is ever getting another head coaching job. And I don't even know if that's fair necessarily. It's fair for McDaniels for sure. It may not be fair for Raheem Morris. But I want to be really consistent here and really fair in my thought on Raheem Morris. I don't think he's a great head coach. But he is a 10 out of 10 defensive coordinator. And while it's Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Sean McVay that get all the credit for Super Bowl 56 with the Rams beating the Bengals, you can argue, and like Cooper Kupp's the MVP of the game, and like, by the way, Odell Beckham would have been the MVP if he didn't tear his ACL. Just saying. As a Giants guy, just saying. You can make the case the most valuable member of the LA Rams in that Super Bowl, and maybe for the whole season, is Raheem Morris. When Odell Beckham Jr. tears his ACL in the first half of Super Bowl 56, the Rams, at that point, like a lot of the offensive game plan, and Beckham caught a touchdown early in the game and was on his way to winning, in my opinion, was going to win MVP. And he tears his ACL, and the Rams' offensive game plan changes from there, right? And Raheem Morris realizes that the defense is going to have to take over. And T. Higgins catches that touchdown coming out of halftime, and like it's the ridiculous push off of Jalen Ramsey and the face mask that's not called. And from there, the Rams defense really buckles down. And Raheem and the defensive adjustments made at halftime are part of what it propelled the Rams to win that Super Bowl. Like the Rams defense won. Now Stafford and Kupp had the drive at the end. The Rams defense won that game. Raheem Morris is a outstanding defensive coordinator and a tremendous communicator who has a ton of experience working with Sean McVay and with Kyle Shanahan throughout the years, and McDaniel, and him and Robert Saleh are basically the defensive equivalents. And you can say Mike McDonald also, but he's not really from that tree. Like the defensive branches of this tree. So now that he gets to go work for Kyle Shanahan, with Robert Saleh taking the head coaching job of the Tennessee Titans, I don't want to discount it. I think this is a huge hire for San Francisco. I think he's a great coordinator. He's an awesome communicator and can kind of like, look, Kyle Shanahan's a little gruff, right? And I think Shanahan's awesome. And now they can have like this great yin and yang with offense and defense. And when I think about the San Francisco 49ers heading into next year, and what the Niners were able to do this year, right? And think about Wild Card Weekend. Not that long ago, right? Niners go into Philadelphia and beat the reigning defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, despite being severely outmanned in the game. Brock Purdy's clearly not healthy. Nick Bosa's not playing. Fred Warner's not playing. Players are dropping like flies everywhere. Everywhere you turn, a player's getting hurt. And think about what they can be next year. Now, you need the principal players to stay healthy. Like if Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Brock Purdy all get hurt again, they're not going to win. Like you can't win without your best players. But if they can stay healthier, and maybe, I don't know, this electric substation conspiracy theory, I have no idea, we'll see. If the Niners can somehow figure out health, and Bosa's healthy, Purdy's healthy, Warner's healthy, we'll see if and when George Kittle's back from the torn Achilles. We'll see what happens with Ayuk's not going to be on the team. Can they get something for him? Can Ricky Pearsall take the next step? Jawan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey stay healthy, they're going to be a monster. And I think about the NFC for next year, and I have the San Francisco 49ers right at the top of my list. That's how important I think this hire is. So, yes, it sucks for the Niners if you're a Niners fan. You had the Niners, you want to bet them next year. It sucked that they lost Saleh. Again, after he left, he was the DC, obviously went to take the Jets job, comes back, now he's the Titans head coach. In the same way, DeMeco Ryans got the job done as Kyle's defensive coordinator. I'm just as, if not more, bullish on Raheem Morris getting the job done next year for the San Francisco 49ers. A+, grand slam dunk hire for Kyle Shanahan with Raheem Morris as his defensive coordinator. We'll take a quick break, and on the other side, I think the Niners are going to be good next year. Rams are probably going to be pretty good next year. Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. What does that mean for the Arizona Cardinals and first-year head coach Mike LaFleur? I'm going to tell you. Next, from Radio Row in San Francisco, California, You Better You Bet. Westwood One Sports with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM.
Bissett under pressure again, steps away, throws for McBride in the end zone, and it's an Arizona touchdown.
It's You Better You Bet, live from Media Row in San Francisco on Westwood One Sports. Here's Nick Kostos.
Fox Sports courtesy of The Call. Trey McBride, touchdown for Arizona. You know that the Cardinals are going to try and get that rolling this year with Trey McBride, with new head coach Mike LaFleur. Just to set the stage, coming up in 15 minutes from now to start next hour, legendary NFL general manager Ernie Accorsi will join the show. I am very excited for that conversation. Take a trip down Super Bowl memory lane with the great Ernie Accorsi. If you're a big football fan, you are going to love that interview coming up in 15 minutes. Among other topics, I'm going to ask Ernie the best single-season team is in the history of the NFL. I think he's going to have unbelievable answers to these questions. I absolutely can't wait for it. The biggest game of the year calls for a boost pack that's just as big. BetMGM rolling out the Big Game Boost Pack, and it gives you 3 different ways to boost the odds on your next big game bet. Here's how it works. First, log in your Big Game Boost Pack. I got to get that right, Bill. Your Big Game Boost Pack will be waiting for you. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip and activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with the token activated, you're getting extra winnings on top of your payout. So if you want to add a little more excitement to your big game action, make sure you grab the Big Game Boost Pack from BetMGM so you can make it legendary. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. So the Arizona Cardinals yesterday, after Clint Kubiak takes the job with the Las Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals hire Mike LaFleur as their head coach, which feels like, you're at recess in grade school and you're picking teams in dodgeball and you get stuck with the last pick and you got to take the chubby kid who can't move. No offense to chubby kids, but probably not the best at dodgeball. Just saying. Just being honest with everybody. And here's Mike LaFleur come on down as the last man standing for the Arizona Cardinals. It should go noted that this is the second consecutive hire that the Arizona Cardinals have made at head coach where there were 1 billion vacancies and they were the last team to fill it. Now, a couple years ago, you can say that they hired Jonathan Gannon and he coached in the Super Bowl where his defense led up 1 billion yards and points to the Chiefs, but still. This is now the second consecutive head coaching cycle for Arizona where they have been the last team to hire a coach, which definitely says something about something. Now, I don't have, it's kind of like an open secret, and I'm far from the only person that says this, that the Bidwell family, who runs obviously the owners of the Arizona Cardinals, don't necessarily have the best reputation for how they run their team and are cheap with their facilities, and all of this is public information. None of this is like breaking news here that I'm saying. So I don't think this is like the best organization, which doesn't mean that Mike LaFleur can't win. It's not an anti-Mike LaFleur thing. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why I think in these last 2 cycles, Arizona's been the last team to hire a coach. And certainly in this one, you can say that Mike LaFleur was the last candidate hired. This was not a case of, like, they were waiting for Clint Kubiak. Like, Mike LaFleur was the last name, which doesn't mean he can't be good, but that's also the truth. He was the last one. And as far as Mike LaFleur is concerned, I don't think it's fair, because people will do this. And he didn't call plays, and he's been the OC for the Rams under Sean McVay. He doesn't call plays, right? McVay calls the plays. I don't think it's fair to Mike LaFleur to look at what he did with the Jets for a couple years in 21 and 22 as their offensive play caller and say, well, he can't call plays, he's going to stink because of that. And I live in the New York area. And, those years with the Jets, all the Jets fans hated Mike LaFleur. As it turns out, the quarterback was no good. Who is winning with Zach Wilson? Who's coordinating a winning defense with Zach Wilson at quarterback? A winning offense with Zach Wilson at quarterback? A winning team with Zach Wilson at quarterback? So I'm willing to give Mike LaFleur the benefit of the doubt big time here. Maybe he'll be great. Maybe he won't. Obviously, he's like a McVay Shanahan guy, like his brother Matt, and it's like all these guys. It's just funny that they all get jobs, and I don't even mean that in a bad way. And I'm sure Nate Scheelhaus will now be the offensive coordinator for the Rams, and he'll probably get a job next year. # friend of Sean McVay. I think the problem with Arizona is the same problem that the Raiders have. The West problem. Next on CBS. We're great. Okay, like you want to contend. It's one thing to do that if like the three teams in your division are like the Falcons, like the Panthers and the Saints. No disrespect to those teams. Mike LaFleur now has to deal with Kyle Shanahan on the Niners, monster. Sean McVay and the Rams, monster. And then the team that's favored to win the Super Bowl this Sunday and Mike McDonald and the Seahawks. Monster. We'll have Fred Warner on the show later this week, the great Niners linebacker. I don't know where he was last week. He did a podcast interview last week, and he was asked about the Cardinals. And he described it as being like if you've ever seen the meme of the three dragon heads all looking ferocious, and the fourth dragon head kind of has like its tongue wagging out and its googly eyes being like it's incompetent. Like that's the Arizona Cardinals right now. Three dragons and the Arizona Cardinals. Kind of similar to the Raiders in the AFC West. And I think the Cardinals are at least one off-season away from truly getting there. We have no idea who the quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Kyler Murray? We don't know. What I'll say is this, though. Think about Kyler Murray. Just conceptually. Think about Kyler Murray and the way he likes to play, right? And how he goes off script all the time. And he's really good at it. And then think about what the LaFleur-Shanahan offense asks of its quarterbacks. And is Kyler Murray truly capable of executing that kind of offense? Like, to the best of its abilities. And look, once upon a time, Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance is way bigger than Kyler Murray, so it's not the same thing. Like, Lance is like 6'3". Kyler's like my height. He's like 5'8", 5'9". I'm not 5'9". But just saying. And maybe Mike LaFleur sees it with Kyler Murray. I have no idea. But that doesn't seem to be, at least schematically, a fit the way Kubiak does with Fernando Mendoza. Arizona's picking third in this NFL draft. It feels like, at least at the top of the draft, it's a one-quarterback draft with Mendoza. So I'm sure they'll take a tackle. Maybe it'll be, I don't even know how to pronounce, Mayoga from Miami. And a right tackle, and Paris Johnson will be on the left. Got to fix the offensive line. They got some work to do. Now, they're closer for sure. Arizona's closer than the Las Vegas Raiders. And if they were in an easier division, you could make the case for Arizona to be a surprise next year. In that division, though, with those three heavyweights at the top, I don't think there's that much of a case, unfortunately, to be made. Hour one done, hour two for you. Coming up on the other side, we will start the hour with legendary NFL general manager Ernie Accorsi here on Westwood One Sports.
on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening, as you do every day, to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Brought to you by BetMGM.
Football Monday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our amazing on-site crew, and you on Westwood One Sports. Live from San Francisco, California, the site, well, technically it's Santa Clara, the site of Super Bowl 60 here in Radio Row, which is starting to become populated a little bit more from where it was at 6 a.m. local time when we came on the air here. Now 7 a.m. local time here on the West Coast. Great to be here with you, our listeners and viewers. Awesome first hour of the show, giving thoughts on Super Bowl 60 with the Patriots and the Seahawks, and my thoughts on the Raiders set to hire Clint Kubiak as their next head coach, the Arizona Cardinals set to hire Mike LaFleur as their next head coach, and why I think the Niners hire of Raheem Morris as defensive coordinator a slam dunk for San Fran head coach Kyle Shanahan. So much good stuff still to come here, including my friend Damon Amendolara. Lindsey Rhodes will join us. Very much looking forward to that. But man, this is a special spot coming up for yours truly. And I hope that our guests will appreciate what I'm about to say because as a lifelong fan of the New York Football, I promise this won't be this type of thing, but I have to be honest here. The fact that I get to speak with Ernie Accorsi right now is awesome for Nick Kostos. Even at 42 years old, getting to speak with the man who was instrumental in the Giants drafting Eli Manning, which directly led to my favorite team winning 2 Super Bowl championships. But even more than that, a figure central to the history of the National Football League. And don't believe me? Look it up. With John Elway in 83 in Baltimore and Denver, so much NFL history written by the man that joins us right now on the show. An absolute pleasure to have him, the great Ernie Accorsi. Ernie, I sincerely appreciate the time. Happy Super Bowl week. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you. It's very nice of you to say those things. It's really my pleasure to be with you.
I really appreciate that. And just, you know, when Ernie Accorsi wakes up Monday morning of Super Bowl week, what sorts of thoughts do you think about, like, the Super Bowls of past years? Like, kind of what goes through your mind this week as we get set for the Super Bowl to be played this Sunday?
I do. And my first year in the league was 1970, and I was the public relations director of the Baltimore Colts, and we went to the Super Bowl. And to try to explain, I'm really not smart enough to try to explain what that was like compared to what it's like now. I mean, it became a very big event, the Friday night party. They called it the Commissioner's Party. Well, in 1970, Super Bowl V, it was in a small hotel ballroom with just a bunch of tables sitting around and a little orchestra on the stage. No assigned tables by club or anything like that. Not that many people were there. There was a lot of people covering it, but they didn't really come to the party. So it wasn't an event. And when I walked out on the field that day before the game, it was a surreal feeling because, it was for the whole ball of wax, but it had a strange feeling to it. Again, nothing like the event that it is today. So I've been to 20 of them since then, but I think often about Super Bowl V, and I want to tell you that I had a credential for the press box naturally, but I received one of those encased tickets just as a remembrance. $15 is what the tickets were for that game, at least the ticket that I got as a souvenir.
And for people that don't know, Super Bowl V ends with a Jim O'Brien walk-off field goal, and the Colts beat the Cowboys 16-13. Do you remember how you felt in that moment when Jim O'Brien's kick went through the uprights and you guys won Super Bowl V?
Yeah, I do, because we were outplayed for most of the game. There were 7 turnovers in that game. and we kept hanging by a thread. Johnny Unitas started the game. He got hurt. Earl Morrow came in relief, and he did a real good job. If nothing more, that we didn't really score much, but if nothing more than he kept shifting field position. We had a goal line stand, and we were really in, from our own 2-yard line. It looked like we were going to have to punt the ball back to midfield. But he moved the ball up to midfield so that we kind of balanced the field position. But I felt all day that we weren't going to win. I mean, we just were being outplayed, but I think other than the quarterback position, by a superior team. And when we finally scored to tie it, and they immediately threw an interception, and we got a chance to get in the field position to kick the field goal, I thought, we have a chance to win this game. It was the days of the conventional kicker, not the side saddle kicker. And O'Brien was good. He wasn't, he was a receiver. He made the team as a wide receiver and unseated Lou Michaels, who was our place kicker. And, I didn't, in my mind, I was on the sidelines. In my mind, I thought 50-50 chance at best. So it was a great relief when that ball went through the uprights. So I remember the feeling like it was yesterday.
That's awesome. Ernie, if it's okay with you, I would love to pick your brain a little bit here. And I maybe it comes across to you. I hope it comes across to the audience. I love the National Football League. I love the history of the NFL. And when I was talking with Bill Zimmerman, who booked you for the show, last week, and we were talking about, guests for the Super Bowl, it's I would love to do something on the history of the league and some of the best teams ever. And we both thought Ernie, of course, he would be great. So having you on here is a thrill, and this is awesome. I'd love to ask you about some of that stuff if it's okay. So question number one on this front would be, and I can kind of give my opinion, and I think my opinion is more educated than a lot of people's, but you lived this. So I think it should have gravity coming out of your mouth. So just curious, what do you think, what does Ernie Accorsi think is the best single-season team in the history of the National Football League, and why?
Well, first of all, it's tough to argue with the 72 Dolphins because they didn't lose. I don't know that I'd rank them with the team I'm going to bring up in a second as far as position by position, but they were beautifully coached by Shula, and they won every game that they played. But it's tough to pinpoint one of these four teams because they're all the same franchise. But I say the mid-70s Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I would maybe say the 77 team or 75 team. They won in 74, 75, 78, and 79, I guess it was. But that team, to me, was the most powerful Super Bowl team because I always thought that the two greatest teams that I experienced in my time, and this goes as a fan too, because the first one I'm going to mention was 1962, would be the 62 Packers. Were so powerful. That was a peak talent year before Horney and Taylor got older and got injured, and the Steelers of the mid-70s. They just were – you weren't going to score on them. The defense was so powerful. They had superstars on offense with two Hall of Fame receivers, Franco Harris and Bradshaw, a great offensive line. That, to me, was the most powerful team. And you could pick whichever one. I wouldn't pick the 74 team. That was the first one. But any of the other three that won championships in the mid-70s, that would be my choice.
Curious, Ernie, because people will always bring up the 85 Bears, right, as the best single-season team. Do they not kind of stand up there for you along with the seven? And I know, and that doesn't mean you think they're bad. Obviously, they lost one game to Miami and won the Super Bowl and destroyed New England in that Super Bowl. What about the 85 Bears as it concerns the best teams ever?
Well, no question. You asked me to pick one. There's no question. I think the two greatest defenses that I ever saw in Super Bowls were the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. And one was really more powerful. The other one was quicker. That defense with the Ravens was the quickest defense I've ever seen. I think offensively, when you're looking at an offense that had two wide receivers that are in the Hall of Fame, Franco Harris is in the Hall of Fame, Terry Bradshaw is in the Hall of Fame. That I'd give them the edge because of the offense. But no, the Bears defense, that 85 Bears team would rank very, very high.
I just remember, and I know obviously you were with the Giants when the Giants lost Super Bowl 35 to the Ravens. I don't know if you'll appreciate this anecdote or not, but I remember sitting down to watch that game with my father, my late father, who turned to me after the first play of the game as the camera zoomed in on Kerry Collins. We loved Kerry. And my dad goes, his eyes are as wide as dinner plates. I think we're screwed. And then the Ravens would obviously go on to win that game. You guys would win a couple Super Bowls, obviously, or with the drafting of Eli Manning would win a couple championships. So that Ernie, the best teams that you've seen that won a championship. Now, maybe the 07 Patriots is the answer here because they were undefeated up until Super Bowl 42 against Eli Manning and the Giants. Who do you think is the best team in NFL history that did not win the Super Bowl? Would be what and why?
You're talking about the Super Bowl era now.
Yeah, we could. You could even give us one from before the Super Bowl era if you'd like as well.
I'd have to think about that for a second. It's kind of logically in my mind would be one of the Buffalo teams. I mean, I always thought that if Buffalo would have won the first of the series that they lost in a row, they would have won maybe two of them, maybe even three. But once they lost the first one, I'll say this to you, Nick. I came to the Colts in 70. That was 2 seasons essentially after the Super Bowl III. I wasn't there in Super Bowl III. That organization was still in shock from 1968. And I realized, and I hadn't experienced it until 2000 myself, but
Joe Namath and the Jets is what you're talking about in that Super Bowl.
Yes, the Super Bowl III, yeah. That I realized being around those people, the devastation of losing that game. I don't think there's any sport, any championship in any sport that is a bigger loss than the Super Bowl. And the reason I say that is in every other sport, you got, a series, whether it's a 7-game series or a 5-game series. Look, I grew up a Yankee fan. I haven't gotten over Mazeroski's home run in 1960 to win that series, but you led up to that game. There were other games in that series. It was a 7-game series, but to go into that game with one step from the World Championship and then one day it slips through your fingers. And I remember George Young was, I succeeded him with the Giants, but we both worked for the 1970 Colts, and I remember when George used to tell me, I never want to have to go through a Super Bowl loss again. Now, I realized that in 2000 they gave us a bunch of merchandise all week, and I had it in my hotel room. And after the game, I went back to my hotel room and I took it downstairs to the doorman and said, "Give this to somebody. I don't want it." And and I talked to Bill Polian about that. He had gone through 3 losses in the Super Bowl before he won it, and he said the same thing. He said, "You never get over a game like that. It's so big to lose it that suddenly that you just can't recover." That's why I say Buffalo, because I do think they would have won multiple Super Bowls if they would have won the first one.
Legendary NFL general manager Ernie Accorsi with Nick Kostos. You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM, live from Radio Row, Super Bowl 60, San Francisco, California. Ernie, I'm sorry to ask you this question then, and I mean that sincerely, just based because I know what the emotion this will probably bring up, but I can't help but think of those 80s Browns teams, right, that kept getting turned away at the doorstep by John Elway. If you guys had won, like let's say 86, right, like the drive, if you guys win that game, do you think the Browns would have won a Super Bowl with Marty Schottenheimer and those teams?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's another, once you lose a championship game, I think John Madden told me one time that, and I don't want to throw this number out recklessly, but I think he told me he was involved, I think maybe some of these as an assistant coach, in losing 6 or 7 championship games. So they're almost as tough as losing the Super Bowl. That once you're involved in games like that, what emotional effect it has on you, where you can't really, you're not thinking about this at the time, but it's almost then you begin to chase. And the first one, when we scored with 5 minutes to go, roughly a little over 5 minutes to go, and kicked off, and we almost recovered the ball on the 1-yard line because it was running around. I think that day it wasn't that cold, but it froze. And it was like little gutters all over the place on the field. There's no grass. And we almost recovered the kickoff and they had the ball on the 1 yard line, and you've got to think, we're in pretty good shape here because neither Elway nor Kosar had very good days up until that point. Of course, Elway then had a drive for his own immortality. But when you're that close, then the next year, we're inside the 5 yard line to tie it, and we fumble. You just start to get to the point where you're almost desperate to try to win that. We couldn't get over that hump. We lost the third championship game to Elway, although that was back and forth, but they had pretty much control of that game. It was the first two that were so painful that one feeds off the other. So do I think we would have won? Yeah, I don't know if we would have beaten the 86 Giants, but I think we would have won one. I mean, Marty Schottenheimer just had a lot of misfortune. And, to me, he's a Hall of Fame coach and one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around. And it's a shame that he didn't win one, but I do believe we had a championship team. We just couldn't hold. The one thing, Nick, that I will say that I learned from those years in Cleveland, especially when we had Lindy Infante as our offensive coordinator, we were a scoring machine, but we couldn't hold up with the game on the line late on defense, and that was because we didn't have pass rushers. We had a tremendous set of linebackers and probably the best cornerback tandem in the league with Hanford Dixon and Frank Mayfield, but we didn't have pass rushers. So when I went to the Giants, I was intent, I'm going to draft pass rushers till the cows come home. And we did. And that's, besides Eli and his great drive, that's what beat Tom Brady for us in the two Patriots Super Bowls. So to answer your question, yeah, I do think we would have won one. You never know. We'll never know.
And an anecdote from, and I know this obviously, like that Ernie refused to put O.C. Umenyiora in the trade with the Chargers to get Eli Manning. That turned out to be pretty prescient, obviously, with O.C. and Tuck and Strahan, even like Jay Alford making big plays in Super Bowl 42. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ernie, and I'd love for you to kind of like describe your feeling in that moment, because you weren't with the Giants anymore in 07, like you had turned the reins over to Jerry Reese, and he had what I actually consider to be like one of the most underappreciated drafts ever and I don't know how much you had to do with that, but what Jerry Reese did in 2007, with every player that he drafted basically playing a role in winning Super Bowl 42 against the then undefeated New England Patriots. So when Tom Brady's fourth down pass goes incomplete and the Giants are going to win Super Bowl 42, 17-14, and the quarterback that you saw greatness in, right, that you thought could be the next Elway potentially, knowing what happened in 83, kind of like, what are your emotions in that moment as the confetti's falling on the field in Arizona and the Giants and Eli Manning are Super Bowl champions?
It's hard to give you two answers to a question. Of course, there's elation and joy, but when you go through what I just chronicled, the tough championship game losses, and all those years that we lost heartbreaking playoff games, you probably your most dominant feeling is relief. I mean, you first of all, you've just suffered for 3.5 hours. You don't enjoy any game that you're involved in emotionally, where it's your team. You don't relax for 1 minute. I remember somebody said, this ought to be a good game. I said, what are you talking about? A good game for you, maybe. It's not going to be a good game for me unless we win it. I don't care what the sequence of the scoring is. But yes, Jerry Reese did a wonderful job in that first draft that he had, and they were all contributing players, and he did a terrific job. But I remember when they got the ball back, and I don't remember, you would know better than me how much time was left. I think it was a little less than 2 minutes, or maybe even less than that. Believe me, the first thing in my mind was that Brady's going to take him down the field. Now, we had pretty much bottled them up for most of the day. They confined them mostly to short passes, but he let a pass loose down the sidelines that.
Can I say this? I actually think, and you would know way better than me, you're referring, it's the third down play when Brady rolls out to his right. He points to Randy Moss down the field and throws a pass that's like 70 yards on a rope that Corey Webster tips away at the last second. In my opinion, and you've seen way more than I have, I think it's the greatest throw I've ever seen, and it was incomplete. I think that's the throw that you're referring to, the third down throw on that final drive.
It is, and I can still see the ball soaring by me. You're right. It was a beautiful spiral. And, remember the receiver was 6'4", and the defensive back was about 5'11" or 5'10". So even if he was covered, Moss had a chance to get up and get the ball. I mean, Hall of Fame receiver. But I had my heart in my throat on that pass. And I fully thought that this game isn't over yet after the touchdown pass to Plexico Burress from Eli. But that was my feeling, though, finally when the fourth down expired the game. It was more than anything, it was relief.
I just, it's so funny here because I'm doing the thing where, like, me as a fan try to put it was as important to me as it was to you. The ball to Burress felt to me like it was in the air for like 3 hours. It was pretty amazing how that ended.
Exactly.
I'll give you my opinion, Ernie, here, and again, your opinion will carry more weight than mine. As it concerns Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame. Now, look, Eli, and I'm always honest with the audience, he's my favorite athlete ever. I'm a Yankee fan also, but the Giants are my favorite team from when I was a young boy. So Eli winning 2 Super Bowls, he's my favorite athlete ever. And he was obviously nails in those 2 playoff runs. And the championship game against San Francisco in 2011 is unbelievable. But I think there is a fair argument to be made that, maybe the rest of the years weren't up to snuff when you look at some of the quarterbacks that are in Canton and the guy that I've compared him to. You could probably say that Elway was the superior player for the balance of his career. But Eli did win 2 Super Bowls and was the MVP of both of them. Does Ernie Accorsi believe Eli Manning deserves a spot in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and why?
Yeah, Nick, I do. And he was well over 5. It's a 500 record. Has hurt him, I think. He was well over 500 until the last 6 years when the talent around him was not up to what it was like the first half of his career. But when I sit down to draft a quarterback and he brought up Collins in the Super Bowl. Kerry Collins took us to a Super Bowl and had probably the greatest game in the history of the franchise in the championship, 41-0 championship victory over Minnesota. But I really felt that we had to be better. And and to me, what you draft a quarterback for is not a one-loss record. You draft a quarterback to win a championship. And when the Jets drafted Namath, it was to win a championship. And he was well under 500. He won the championship. Maybe the most famous Super Bowl victory in our history. But I wanted someone that I remember. And I'll tell you this quickly. When I first came into the league, there was a part-time West Coast scout, Milt Davis, had a doctorate, and we couldn't get him to be a full-time scout, so we employed him as a part-time scout. Was at training camp, which we had in Golden, Colorado, because we didn't play preseason games at home. We couldn't draw for preseason games, and we weren't out on the package. And we there were 6 preseason games, and I think 4 of them were in the West Coast. So we were trained in Golden, Colorado, and he was there. Milt had been a defensive back in the 58 championship game for the Colts. And I have not seen Unitas play live since 67 because I was at Penn State, and I didn't see Colt games in 68 and 69. Not even on television because we were working on Sundays. So I looked at Unitas, and he had the elbow tendons injury, and he didn't have the velocity in his passes that he did when I last saw him. And I said to Milt, can we still win with him? I didn't know anything. I was a rookie. And he said, let me just tell you one thing and never forget this. He says, you judge a quarterback with his ability to take his team down the field in the fourth quarter of a championship game and into the end zone to win the title. That's how you judge a quarterback. And so nobody did it any better. There have been some that did it as well, but nobody did it any better than the 2 chances that Eli had to do that. And so do I think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback? Yes. Every 2-time winner of the Super Bowl quarterback is in the Hall of Fame except Plunkett, who probably should be in for his 2 titles. And I think eventually he'll get in. But, I'm sorry I didn't see it this time or the time before, but hopefully it will be soon.
I would second that. And Ernie, you've been very generous with your time. Just one more for you here. And I try to give like context in my opinions here so you understand where I'm coming from with my opinion on where some of these matters stand, right? So last week, Bill Belichick does not get elected into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. And look, like Bill Walsh didn't get it on the first ballot, and some people will say that. It does feel a little ridiculous, given, and I think a lot of people like don't know that Bill Belichick, before he was a Super Bowl winning head coach with the Patriots, was the defensive coordinator of the Giants when they won 2 with Bill Parcells, and the Super Bowl 25 game plan is in Canton. So he doesn't get in on the first ballot, and I think back to Terrell Owens not getting in until the third ballot, and it just feels to me, Ernie, and like, again, I will defer to you on this stuff, given your football life being what it is. It feels like there's something wrong with this process if like these are the results that we're getting. Did you have any issue with Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot? And do you feel like there are issues with how the Pro Football Hall of Fame kind of elects its members now?
Well, first of all, I never tell people on anything like that, whether it's MVP or the Hall of Fame, how to vote. That's their job, and they have to do that. Yeah, do I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer? Absolutely. I doubt if anybody's going to touch that record of 6 Super Bowl championships. So I definitely do. I mean, it's another sport, but Joe DiMaggio didn't get into the third ballot. So those things happen, and I don't, to be honest with you, Nick, if you ask me to explain the process, I don't even know it anymore. It's different than it was when I was active. I've been retired.
No one can explain it. No one can explain it. That's the problem.
I don't know it. But, yeah, he's whatever system that's used and whatever process they use, Bill Belichick's a Hall of Famer. And I'm sure he'll get in next year, but that doesn't erase the fact that he didn't get in the first year. But I agree, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Ernie, I mean this as a tremendous compliment. I could ask you questions for hours. Like the answers are amazing. Like your knowledge of football history, living football history is obviously unbelievable. Like I think I'm going to get strangled by our affiliates if I don't take a break at some point here. So I think this is the point where I unfortunately must bid you adieu. But thank you very much. You were exceptionally generous with your time. An incredible football life. And I hope that we get to do this more down the line, you and I. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome, Nick, and I enjoyed it myself. Thank you very much.
The legendary Ernie Accorsi joining us here on You Better You Bet. If you like football history like I do, that was 27 minutes of gold, Jerry. Gold. More You Better You Bet from Radio Row coming up right after this.
Indiana took care of business. Just an unbelievable storybook season for a team that entered the night only had, I think, like 5 all-time bowl game wins. They got another one, so they got 3 of those this year. That's how much of a perennial doormat Indiana had been year in and year out. Just a punchline. A lot of people saying, you go to a game in Bloomington, you're getting like 2 to 3 hours closer to the start of basketball season, but no longer a basketball school is IU. Very much a football school front and center, and one that really deserved to win the national title. I felt they were the best offense, felt they were the best defense, a most balanced team across the board in all of college football, pretty much all season long. I saw with my own eyes again in late September when they absolutely pummeled, embarrassed, depended by ILL. And I'm still shivering at what I had to witness, 63-10 mauling in Bloomington. I think that really put them on the map. And, of course, they just kept winning and winning and winning and defying a lot of the people, especially those south of the Mason-Dixon line, south of the Ohio River. Oh, golly, there's no way that Indiana can win a national title in football. This is Alabama country. This is Bulldog country. This is volunteer country. The SEC rules in football. Well, guess what? It happened. And the Big Ten has won now 3 straight consecutive national titles. Just unforeseen, unbelievable. And hopefully, Pat, Kurt Signetti belled up the bar, not had one, but drank at least, I don't know, a 6-pack of beers last night because he earned them.
Let's head out to Media Row in San Francisco. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
So how about this? ESPN's Adam Schefter tweeted 7 minutes ago in real time. So it's my computer here is on East Coast time. 10:33 a.m. on the East Coast. It's 7:33 a.m. local time. Schefter tweeting 7 minutes ago that a 4.3, did you guys feel an earthquake? Did anyone feel this earthquake? No, right? That apparently a 4.3, did you guys, no one knew this, right? A 4.3 magnitude earthquake in San Francisco, literally a half an hour ago. I have Ernie Accorsi on the air. I don't know if I'm so entranced by that interview. I had no idea there was an earthquake. I'm pretty sure no one here felt it. No one felt anything. I'm hoping that there isn't a bigger one. I'll say that. That would suck. I'll tell you what. I'm really happy to be out here. I'm just being honest with everybody. Screw this job. If anything starts shaking here, I'm on the first flight back home. Y'all can deal with fault lines and earthquakes and all that jazz. I'm good. I'll take the professional hit, need be. I'm getting the hell out of here if there's an earthquake. So 4.3 magnitude earthquake a half hour ago, whatever, we'll see. That interview with Ernie Accorsi was something else. What a football life that guy has lived. Obviously, a little special for me. He's a former Giants GM who saw the greatness in Eli Manning. And look, I've read books on the subject. I've read many books on the subject. But he would watch Eli at Ole Miss Eli's final year in college, and they were always outmanned when Eli was at Ole Miss. And he went there because Archie went there, and Peyton went to Tennessee, and Eli went to Ole Miss because Archie went there. And he would still have them in these games at the end. And even though they didn't win, he could see that at the ends of games is when he played his best. And being able to identify that 21 years after missing out on John Elway when Ernie was in Baltimore, we didn't even get to talk about that. What a crazy football life he lived, where he wanted to draft Elway in 83, and Elway kind of forces his way to Denver with the Broncos, and he was in the baseball draft also. I love that with Ernie Accorsi. And you think about like those Browns teams and just how downtrodden a franchise that's been, and the hiring of Todd Monken last week, and some people like it and some people don't, and how different things would be if they would have gotten a chip in the 80s. Now, he said it, like, the Browns, that team in 86 was not beating the Giants. Like, it was not happening in 86 in Super Bowl 21. Probably wasn't going to beat the Redskins either in Super Bowl 22, but you would have liked the opportunity to get there for a team that's literally never been to the Super Bowl before. So just love that with Ernie Accorsi. And now I feel like, is the ground shaking or no? Or am I being psychosomatic here? I think we're okay. I think Bill thinks we're okay. I'm going to go with Bill. He looks really calm. I'm just saying, I'm out of here if Bill can host the show. If there's an earthquake, I'm out of here. We'll take a break, and on the other side, Damon Amendolara, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. DA knows his NFL history. I can't wait to talk some NFL history with DA, break down Super Bowl 60 with DA. Damon Amendolara joins Nick Kostos right after this on Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
Indiana took care of business. Just an unbelievable storybook season for a team that entered the night only had, I think, like 5 all-time bowl game wins. They got another one, so they got 3 of those this year. That's how much of a perennial doormat Indiana had been year in and year out. Just a punchline. A lot of people saying, you go to a game in Bloomington, you're getting like 2 to 3 hours closer to the start of basketball season, but no longer a basketball school is IU. Very much a football school front and center, and one that really deserved to win the national title. I felt they were the best offense, felt they were the best defense, a most balanced team across the board in all of college football, pretty much all season long. I saw with my own eyes again in late September when they absolutely pummeled, embarrassed, depended by ILL. And I'm still shivering at what I had to witness, 63-10 mauling in Bloomington. I think that really put them on the map. And of course, they just kept winning and winning and winning and defying a lot of the people, especially those south of the Mason-Dixon line, south of the Ohio River. Oh, golly, there's no way that Indiana can win a national title in football. This is Alabama country. This is Bulldog country. This is volunteer country. The SEC rules in football. Well, guess what? It happened. And the Big Ten has won now 3 straight consecutive national titles. Just unforeseen, unbelievable. And hopefully, Pat, Kurt Signetti, belled up the bar, not had one, but drank at least, I don't know, a 6-pack of beers last night because he earned them.
Shotgun snap to Stafford. Sets in the pocket. Plenty of time. Winds up. Throws to the near sideline. Caught. 50-yard line and out of bounds. Nakua. The clock at 1. Oh, to keep the clock going. It's over. It's over. Seattle has won. The Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl.
Let's get back to San Francisco for more You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos. Live from Media Row, only on Westwood One Sports. Presented by BetMGM.
The biggest game of the year calls for a boost pack that's just as big. BetMGM rolling out the big game boost pack, giving you 3 different ways to boost the odds on your next big game bet. Here's how it works. First, log in and your big game boost pack's going to be waiting for you. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip and activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with the token activated, you'll get extra winnings on top of your payout. So if you want to add a little more excitement to your big game action, make sure you grab the big game boost pack from BetMGM so you can make it legendary. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Now, I love me some NFL history, as I'm sure everybody can tell. Did 27 minutes to start the hour with legendary NFL general manager Ernie Accorsi. I don't think there are many people out there in the media or otherwise that love and know the history of the league the way that I do. One of them is our guest joining us right now, and I got to be honest, man. I think my hair is pretty good. My hair looks pretty good. This guy's hair is magnificent. And for people that are watching the show right now on YouTube or Twitch, he's messing with it during the break. I could see him off camera. You look great, my friend. Because joining us right now is my pal, Damon Amendolara, DA and Bab, Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, and pumping out Super Bowl content all week, and I would encourage everyone to check it out. I've been on his show on YouTube. The content is fantastic. My man knows the NFL inside and out. Wildly entertaining. YouTube.com/Damon Amendo, Amendo. That's his Twitter handle as well. YouTube.com/Damon Amendo. DA, welcome to the show. Happy Super Bowl week, my friend.
Kostos, happy Super Bowl week, buddy. How we doing?
I cannot hear Damon, guys. Can we please try and get this fixed and let me know when this is all set, and we will bring Damon onto the show. I can't wait to ask him about Super Bowl 60, his thoughts on the Patriots and the Seahawks. Want to get his take on kind of like what happens if Marshawn Lynch runs in the touchdown at the end of Super Bowl 49 and kind of where we go from there. So Mike Brown, please let me know when he's all set. All right, so Mike is telling me we should be able to hear Damon. DA, do we have you, my friend?
I do have you. Do you have me, Nick Kostos?
Okay. Oh, there we go. We have DA with us right now. My friend, happy Super Bowl week.
Happy Super Bowl week. Glad you're enjoying a little San Francisco right now.
Well, I don't know if I'm enjoying it, really. There was an earthquake a half hour ago, and
wow.
I know you're based in I didn't feel it, but there is one. Kind of makes me want to leave. And just walking through the streets of Midtown Manhattan, like sometimes you smell, right, marijuana. This would be, I would say, walking through the streets of San Francisco, like you get high. Like you are stoned walking through the streets of San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. We did this 10 years ago at Super Bowl 50. I did the Radio Row thing and stayed downtown, which is pretty close to the convention center. And the sights that I saw and the smells that I wafted and the things that I witnessed, wow, that will forget, Cam Newton not jumping on a fumbled snap or a fumbled ball. I saw things that I'll always remember far more than that.
In comparison to what went on the streets of San Francisco prior to Super Bowl 50. I want to start with this, and I think you're such a great person to ask this question too, because you know the history of the league inside and out. And I started my show today talking about it, right? Just, with Super Bowl 60 with the Pats and the Seahawks, obviously is going to make you think of Super Bowl 49, right, with the Patriots and the Seahawks. And the Pats hadn't won one in a decade leading up to that game. And Seattle is on the doorstep of winning back-to-back Super Bowls. And just curious how you think the history of the league changes if Darrell Bevell and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson call a run and Marshawn Lynch scores and the Seahawks win that Super Bowl, go back-to-back, and deny Tom Brady and Bill Belichick that elusive fourth Super Bowl championship that they worked at for a decade. And kind of like what happens from there in Damon Amendolara's estimation.
It is one of the most remarkable butterfly effect moments in sports history, and it is the most important, most impactful, singular decision in NFL history. Because I believe, as probably you do and most do, that if the Seahawks decide to run the football, they win a Super Bowl. By deciding to pass the football, they lose a Super Bowl. You can go back through the annals of time, and there's plays that should be executed. There's officials' calls that could go one way or the other. There's decisions early in a game, but never has there been a decision that on one play is, if we do this, we win. If we do this, we lose, and they chose wrong. And everything from there on changes between the two franchises. At that point in time, Patriots had gone a full decade without winning a Super Bowl. Remember, they had lost in 2007. They had lost in 2011. This would have been their third consecutive Super Bowl defeat. So now you're tacking on to not just losing to the Giants, now you lose to the Seahawks as well. Now it's this second iteration of the Patriots cannot win the big one. If the Seahawks win, that group remains intact and trusting of one another and compete for more Super Bowls. It was that decision and the lack of Pete Carroll and the coaching staff to own their mistake that ripped apart that locker room. And I've had conversations with people that were on that team with the Seahawks, within that organization. Once that happened and Pete never admitted we made a mistake, we bleeped up, the defense could not trust the offense. The defense didn't trust Russell Wilson. They could not mend the fences, and everything started fraying. Then, of course, you have guys getting older. You have distaste between the players in the front office, like the Earl Thomas moment, the Earl Thomas situation as he's getting carted off and flipping the finger. You have everything that just unravels from them. They could not put the toothpaste back in the tube. And even if they had not won after that, winning back-to-back Super Bowls puts you in a different limelight, like the Packers of the 60s, like the Dolphins of the 70s, like the Broncos of the 90s. It is much different than being the 85 Bears or the 99 Rams. If you win one and lose one, or win one and don't get back, it is not the same as when you win back-to-back or win 2 out of 3 years or whatever. It changes everything. And that moment is a decision. It's not even execution. Of course, it's execution too, but it's a decision. They run the football. Life is different.
Amazing, right? Amazing to think about. And I love the way you framed it and the gravity of that it's the biggest decision in the history of the Super Bowl, maybe in the history of sports, that one play decides so much, and they obviously made the wrong decision. You Better You Bet, live from Radio Row, San Francisco, California. Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports with my friend Damon Amendolara, DA and Babs, Mad Dog Sports Radio, youtube.com/Damon Amendo. Let's go lightning round here, DA. We have about 5 minutes left here. I want to hit a couple topics with you. If the Seattle Seahawks win Super Bowl 60, what does it do for Mike McDonald's legacy, even if the Seahawks never win another one?
Well, it makes him the defensive Sean McVay. He's younger than 40 years old. It's year number 2. His defense is amazing, and he would have already won a Super Bowl. It puts him in this short class of best coaches in the NFL, and absolutely, with a bullet point, the best young coach in the NFL.
I totally agree with you. And we'll be talking about McDonald and like revered tones reserved for like the likes of Landry, won multiple, but some of the great defensive coaches in the history of the National Football League. When you think about and conceptualize DA, Super Bowl 60 playing out, Seahawks a 4.5-point favorite, total in the game 45.5, and you can save like your prediction if you hold it to the end of the week, that's fine. But how do you kind of see the game playing out? Like higher scoring, lower scoring? Do you have a strong feeling here as we sit here on Monday, 6 days out from the game?
The Seahawks are the better football team. This is about whether the Seahawks actually play the better football game. If they play anything close to what they've shown in the postseason, this thing's a wrap. The Patriots cannot hang on. The Patriots have been gifted a great path. Patriots fans will say, well, you got to earn it. You got to win all those games. That's true. But there has been no path in NFL history as gilded as this one. Patriots took advantage of it. The Seahawks are the far superior team. It does not guarantee they win, though. They must avoid shooting themselves in the foot. They must avoid bad decisions, being tense, bad interceptions, turnovers, a silly play, a silly foul, a silly penalty that extends drives, extends third downs, etc. If they just don't shoot themselves in the foot, Seahawks will win this football game. But that is not a guarantee. And the Patriots are built like a lot of old Patriots teams, which is, and Vrabel learned this under Belichick, let them make the mistake. We won't do it. Let them make the mistake. And if that happens, it's a close game. But again, I just go back to, if Darnold doesn't turn the football over, Seahawks defense does what it usually does, and the Seahawks play a clean, crisp game without mistakes, they win this football game by a touchdown.
So do you think is that your pick here? Seattle by a touchdown, Seattle covers? And if so, does Sam Darnold win MVP or somebody else?
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold wins the MVP as long as he's above average. You know, quarterbacks seem to just have this on lock. There's a monopoly on Super Bowl MVPs and quarterbacks as long as they're decent. I'm a little scared to pick this game that cleanly because it feels like all of the prognosticators are saying the Patriots don't stand a chance and it's going to be the Seahawks, yada, yada, yada. And I never feel good going with this huge avalanche of support one way and the unanimous, public vote. But I just can't shake the fact that the AFC playoffs were kind of like a messy disaster, and the NFC playoffs were a referendum on how good the Seahawks are. And the Patriots logo, I think, affects how we look at this. Because if that was the Broncos, or that was the Jaguars, or that was the Bills maybe, or that was any other team, I think we'd be like, yeah, the Seahawks are going to clean up here. The Patriots logo scares everybody, and their coach is really good. So I don't feel that comfortable, but I just think neutral site, both teams play the same game. Seahawks are a superior team.
Start the show. I think Seattle will be winning at the end and covering at the end, and Drake may have a chance to do what Tom Brady did in his second year in his first Super Bowl against the St. Louis Rams. YouTube.com/Damon Amendo, DA and Babs on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My friend, I appreciate it. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Enjoy the week, man. Have fun.
The great Damon Amendolara joining us here on You Better You Bet. YouTube.com/Damon Amendo. Hour number 3 on the other side, and we're going to start it off with my Westwood One teammates, Black and Abdallah, joining me next here on Set Radio Row, presented by BetMGM.
I'm going to go with a guy on the Seattle Seahawks who I feel like everybody has just about forgotten about, and I think it's unfair. Torrey Horton, their rookie wide receiver this year from Colorado State, their 5th-round draft pick. And if, for a lot of folks, like a lot of us get recency bias, a lot of people are probably listening right now saying, who? You're not talking about Rashid Shaheed, who they got at the trade deadline? This is the reason they got Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline, because Torrey Horton was putting up awesome numbers in his rookie season. The guy played in 8 games, and he had 5 touchdowns. Not a big volume guy, right? He never had more than 48 yards in a game, didn't have more than 4 catches in a game. But out of 8 games played, he scored 5 touchdowns, and including the last game he played in the season, Week 9 against Washington, 4 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy was on the rise, and then he suffered a season-ending injury. And I think next year he could become a massive star because of all the attention that's going to get paid to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Brad, I got to be honest, I think the Seahawks are going to cut Cooper Kupp at the end of the season. I think he costs them too much money. They need to pay Jackson Smith and Jigba a monster extension, probably this offseason. They're on the hit for Cooper Kupp for $17 million next year, $18 million a year after that. I think the Super Bowl is going to be his last game in Seattle, and I think they're going to move on from him. They're going to extend JSN. They have Rashid Shaheed also as an unrestricted free agent. They got to make a decision on him. And that, I just think it opens the door for Torrey Horton to come back in year 2 and have a monster role. So I'll go with Torrey Horton. Here's a who. He might be hearing no more who's next year if he turns into a star.
This is You Better You Bet, live from San Francisco on Westwood One Sports. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
Bring it up, Kenny, you son of a bitch. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our incredible crew of like thousands, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, sponsored by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. We have a loaded final hour on this Monday coming up live from San Francisco, California. Not technically the site of Super Bowl 60, that's Santa Clara, but if they sent us to Santa Clara for Radio Row, that would be a little disappointing. It's my friends Black and Abdallah going to join me on the show here in just a second. My teammates on Westwood One Sports. Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports will join us coming up in about 15 minutes. We look forward to that. And then Mike Sando of The Athletic, who has kind of become the mouthpiece in a good way for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Friend of the show, Mike Sando, who's had to defend the ridiculous, outrageous decision by the voters to not put Bill Belichick in on the first ballot. I'm going to ask my friend Mike Sando to start the interview. I'm literally going to say, Mike, what the hell's wrong with the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I can't wait to get his answer. But joining me right now, and this is great, it's my first time meeting these guys in person. Following me Monday through Friday on Westwood One Sports, Bleck and Abdallah, weekdays noon to 3 Eastern, Chicago-based, with me now on the show. Guys, great to meet you. Thanks for coming by the set. Great to have you here on Radio Row. What's going on?
It's great to meet you as well. And, Nick, this has been awesome. Thanks for having us on the show. And I just want to report, being out on the streets just moments ago, it is no longer The Walking Dead in downtown San Francisco. I heard you say that earlier this morning, and I'm like, yeah, Nick's not wrong about that.
The weed smoke, and I listen. You know, I'm kind of old now with the kid. I don't really, but like back in the day, you know, it's like me and Snoop. You know, it's Cheech and Chong and Nick Kostos. It's unbelievable. Like I feel like you can get high just like walking around the streets here outside here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of how Chicago is now, where we're from. But this is up to a different level. There's a dispensary on almost every corner here. Yeah. It's insane.
All right,
it's insane.
So let's start with Abdallah, then Bleck here. You guys have been with us here since the start here on Westwood One Sports. It's great to have you. What's it been like? And you guys, for people that don't know, you guys did radio in Chicago together, doing local radio in Chicago, now moving nationally. How's it been so far? First, my friend Abdallah, who I learned is Egyptian and not Italian. I thought it was Italian.
It's been great. It's close. It's close. It's just across, the Mediterranean.
Yeah. It's all the same, right?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's been great so far. It's been awesome. Yeah, we've been doing radio in Chicago for 20 years, so it's not that much different for us still doing the show together. Yeah. Pretty much doing the same show, just talking a little bit less Bears and more NFL, which we love. We love the NFL. We know you love the NFL, so it's been a great time to talk NFL with the playoffs and the Super Bowl. And you don't want my thoughts on the Hall of Fame and how that went down.
That's like a little radio trick for someone.
Crazy theory on how this went down.
Well, I'm sorry to my friend Bleck here because this is a radio trick that our friend
Yes, it is.
Which is the you don't want to know what I have to say about this, and now I am contractually
my thoughts on this topic.
Now I have to ask. What is the crazy Hall of Fame idea?
This was all my conspiracy theory that Jordan Hudson did this to put Bill Belichick back in a positive light.
Now, so how did she do it?
So she went around. Listen, she's a master PR
Allegedly.
Allegedly. This is all allegedly. Now, this is all allegedly that we're here at the Super Bowl. I don't want this to get out and me to get sued like Pablo Torre or anything like that. This is all allegedly.
Pablo's trying to find out about Ukrainian drones.
Exactly.
I think we're probably
he's got bigger fish to fry.
Bigger fish to fry than me, obviously. She went around and whipped the votes and talked to people, maybe got into Bill Polian's ear or something like that. I know you're friends with Bill, and I understand that. But
I appreciate you. I would not say that we're friends. I would say that we were coworkers.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
He did accidentally, it's a true story. He did call me, like, definitely accidentally, like 3 years ago.
A butt dial?
No, I think he clicked because I was saved in his phone. I guess I'm bragging. So he calls me and I pick up the phone and I'm like, Bill, what's up? And he's like, who is this? I'm like, it's Nick Kostos. You just called me. He's like, did I? I was like, it was probably an accident. Just letting you know.
It's okay.
That did happen a few years
It's all right.
Yeah.
So she went around with the votes because Bill Belichick right now, before a week ago, had the lowest Q rating of his entire career.
That's fair.
The North Carolina stuff, the weird picture with him on the beach propping her up with his feet, and, and all of this.
Even though I think he's a massive creep, and if my daughter ever brought home a man that age, I would kill him. Yes. But still.
Exactly. That's my point, is that we had a lower perception of Bill Belichick than at any point of his Super Bowl career, his Hall of Fame career, all of this stuff. What better way than to get Bill Belichick on the right side of history in our minds than to make him not a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because if it had just come out that he was, hey, guess what? Bill Belichick made the Hall of Fame as the first ballot Hall of Famer. We're just like, okay, cool. Another just check in the box, and we move on with our daily lives. Now, he is the topic for an entire week. He is at the forefront of our minds. Every former Patriot that comes around the Super Bowl this week is going to be asked about it. And guess who's in the Super Bowl this week? The Patriots. Yeah. And now, instead of talking about the Patriots, we're talking about Bill Belichick and the Patriots. This is expert PR move by Jordan Hudson.
I don't
Allegedly.
think she's that much of a mastermind.
Allegedly.
Is
Is
it Jordan or is it Jordan?
Jordan.
It's Jordan, but come on.
It's
she
Jordan.
She wants us to say Jordan.
Okay.
It's a little off, right?
That's a little.
Right?
The whole situation's a little off, I think.
Do you see what I deal with every day from noon to 3 Eastern?
I mean, I don't know if I disagree with it. I don't know if I hate. I don't know if I hate it though. I think it's wrong, but you sold it really well.
Yeah,
and that's all that
right?
matters in this business.
You did talk for like 3 minutes straight, so you got that.
There you
covered,
go.
Right?
That's
like
all
you
I
filled
needed.
some space.
That's all I
there.
needed.
Yeah. So your thoughts on what your partner said?
Yeah, it's not true. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he's trying to sell you something that is not real, but you did it well. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate
the
it.
dynamic between you, because that was, I'll be honest, and if I were you, I'd do the same thing. Abdallah was like, you know what, I'm taking this here.
Yeah.
I'm not giving Black a word in edgewise here.
It's fine.
Is that,
You can
is that
have it
how
now.
this generally goes?
No, see, what happens is in, 40 minutes, 45 minutes from now, I'm going to have to do all the talking once the show starts.
Oh,
see,
okay.
see,
Is
that's
that
that's where-
accurate?
Yeah. He'll start it off, and then I'll bring in that craziness, and then he'll
Let
have
me
to
ask
be
you,
like,
be
yeah.
honest, because
Yeah.
it's like, it doesn't matter, like as long as the show's good. Do you guys hate each other?
No, God, no, not at
No.
all. We've known each other since high school.
I was kind of hoping the answer was yes, just
Yeah.
because
No.
who
No,
cares
so-
as long as the show
No,
is
this
good.
is how the
Tell the
story
audience
goes.
about you guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we went to the same high school. We weren't friends, but we weren't enemies. We were friendly in
Yeah.
class.
Who
I
was,
was
cool,
like-
who was cooler?
I was like
Oh,
you.
come
Me and
on.
Snoop Dogg
Nick,
were like
how,
this
how,
in high
what-
school.
how do you think that went?
Well, yeah.
Between the two of us. First of all, Adam had a little mini fro back in the day, and he would wear suit coats with little spikes on the shoulders.
Yeah, I was a
in
little-
high school.
Like Hawk and Animal from the Legion of Doom?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, as a
yeah,
wrestling
yeah.
fan,
A
I
little
kinda
punk,
like that.
little
Yes.
punk kid.
Okay.
In high school.
Okay.
And I girls liked me, right? Like, so you would admit that was.
You're of the same generation as us. It was nothing but like sun in the hair, the puka shell necklace.
I had those stupid necklaces
I
on.
did that
yeah.
in 2001.
Yeah.
I had frosted
Yes.
tips,
Yeah.
and I had a T-shirt that said, "It's really bad. It's really bad." It said, "Real men wear orange." And I had like these orange swooshy pants from Abercrombie and
Sure,
There you go.
sure. I
There you
remember
go.
those. Remember, they had like little, what was it, like zip ties and
Yes.
on like the knee.
I
and,
still
remember
like.
those.
Well, I like joggers. I like the zip ties
Yeah.
at the bottom. But continue.
You're
yeah.
right. So we sat next to each other in many classes in high school because of our last names, Black and Abdallah.
Yeah.
So and we
you
just
hated
never,
him then or no?
No, we didn't hate each other, but we weren't.
I
friends.
feel like you hated. I feel like Abdallah hated. Black.
No.
Jealous.
We had like
Jealous,
we had a
probably.
couple.
Oh, well, jealous and
Little
hate are
envy.
two sides of the
Yeah,
same coin. Yeah.
right.
We had a couple mutual friends and a mutual hate for like algebra and the classes that we were in
Oh,
together.
wow.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
a small
like-
community. People that hate math.
we had a teacher, Miss Gongle. She hated us
Okay.
because we would joke the entire time through class. Now, that happened in high school. We weren't friends. We go to college. He goes somewhere else. He one day in our second year of college comes walking into one of my radio classes. I'm like, hey, it's Abdallah. Hey, you like beer? He's like, yeah, you like beer? I'm like, sweet. Let's go get a beer after class. And since then, we host a college radio show together. We worked together at a station locally in Chicago for 20 years. And we hosted our show together. So that's where we're here today.
I love that you guys bonded over hatred of math and
Yeah.
love of beer.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
I'd say
basically
it's
it. Yeah,
a
that's
large portion
basically
of the
it.
population
That's how it
now.
starts.
Now, I like how you said local stage. You worked at
Yeah.
ESPN in Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for people that don't know, my big boss is Mitch Rosen, who
Yes.
runs the Score in Chicago. And shout out to Mitch because today is the first day because it's Score 104. I think is how
Yeah,
they're-
yes.
So they're on
Yeah.
FM now. It's a huge day for Mitch and a huge day locally in Chicago. So you were competitors with Mitch and,
Yes.
and the Score for
Yeah.
a while. So I know because Mitch told me that you guys went. Are you still doing the show out of the Score, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yep.
So the first day you walked in there, were you like, it's kind of like enemy territory?
Yeah,
right
oh,
now.
yeah.
Like, what
it
was that like?
It was literally the next day. We
Yeah.
did our last show on Sunday. It was the Bears' final home game, and then the next day we went and did the first show. We're actually where Kenny sits.
Yeah, shout out
So,
to Kenny.
shout out
today.
to Kenny.
Kenny helps
We're
us
there.
every
Yeah.
day. He's the man. He is awesome.
Kenny's
so,
awesome. Love
yeah,
Kenny.
Make sure that he gets his credit because dealing with us every morning is not ideal. So, but yeah, it was surreal, right? Like we've spent 20 years across the street at the competitor, and then next day we walk in the hallways and we get to see Lawrence Holmes and Matt Spiegel and Mitch Rosen and everyone over at the Score, and they've been so nice to us. We're there temporarily, so it's been cool that they've been dealing with us and putting us up for the last month or so.
All right, You Better You Bet Radio Row. Nick Kostos on this Monday. Westwood One Sports presented by BetMGM. Black and Abdallah, my guests. They follow me Monday through Friday on Westwood One Sports. Black and Abdallah, noon to 3 Eastern on Westwood One Sports. What has been the biggest transition, my man Black first on this one, going from local to national talk for you guys?
You know, I think the thing that's most exciting about it is that any topic is available, right? Like, we are talking about sports on a national level, so anything that piques your interest, especially with the National Football League, we can talk about. If you work in Chicago, there's only one thing that people care about in Chicago, and that is the Chicago Bears. But if we want to talk about the Raiders for 15 minutes, or we want to talk about the Steelers, it doesn't matter, because that's a main story nationally, and that's something that we're allowed to do. And I think that that's been something that's been really refreshing and a lot of fun as of late, is that we can really spread the topics and do all kinds of different things.
I think it's the not having to deal with the grind of, like Chris said, the everyday local sports. Like the
what
Bulls,
bothered you the most about it?
Like the Bulls got killed yesterday.
Well, can I give you an example?
I mean?
I feel like if I did local radio in New York, it would it makes me want to start convulsing the thought of breaking down the Mets bullpen after a July loss to the Marlins.
Exactly.
And
yes.
It's
like the Bulls.
No disrespect to that. People like it. I'm
Exactly.
Just saying.
Like the Bulls getting beat by 50 last night. I just a team that doesn't care about trying. I've just stopped caring about them.
Okay.
So I don't want to give them the time of day. So I would much rather break down the Super Bowl this week and talk about the Seahawks and the Patriots and all the other NFL stories throughout the offseason instead of talking about the White Sox every single day and that kind of stuff.
Some of that stuff gets redundant, right?
Yeah.
So you can only take so many different angles on one team. And when you're only focused on one team, it's there's a lot of other great sports to talk about and to look forward to. And that's extremely refreshing in this role, is that we can kind of talk about anything and we can still do our show. And it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. This will, I hope, not be the only time we have you guys on this week.
Whenever you want us, let us know. We'll be here.
Absolutely.
Great. Whenever there's I got to tell you, Bill knows this.
Yes.
I did the first hour by myself today.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that again the rest of the week.
Yeah. So I was listening. I was in the hotel room listening. You were kicking ass. So
What'd you like?
I liked the scene setting at the start, because you were right. This week's going to be crazy here, but essentially Monday morning, early, we're talking 6, 7 a.m. There ain't nobody
here.
There's no one on the street. There's no one here in the convention center. And I thought you did a good job of painting the picture.
A good job or great job?
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll say great job.
Just wanna make sure.
Great job. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I could picture, without being here, exactly what's going on. And I love that.
Radio.
Yeah.
Radio.
Love it.
So we'll have you guys on more this week.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Black and
Let's do it.
Abdallah, noon to 3 p.m. Eastern on Westwood One Sports. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thanks, Nick.
Coming up next, Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports here. San Francisco, the site of Super Bowl 60, presented by BetMGM.
I'm going to go with a guy on the Seattle Seahawks who I feel like everybody has just about forgotten about, and I think it's unfair. Torrey Horton, their rookie wide receiver this year from Colorado State, their 5th-round draft pick. And if, for a lot of folks, like a lot of us get recency bias, a lot of people are probably listening right now saying, who? You're not talking about Rashid Shaheed, who they got at the trade deadline? This is the reason they got Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline, because Torrey Horton was putting up awesome numbers in his rookie season. The guy played in 8 games, and he had 5 touchdowns. Not a big volume guy, right? He never had more than 48 yards in a game, didn't have more than 4 catches in a game. But out of 8 games played, he scored 5 touchdowns, and including the last game he played in the season, Week 9 against Washington, 4 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy was on the rise, and then he suffered a season-ending injury. And I think next year he could become a massive star because of all the attention that's going to get paid to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Brad, I got to be honest, I think the Seahawks are going to cut Cooper Kupp at the end of the season. I think he costs them too much money. They need to pay Jackson Smith and Jigba a monster extension, probably this offseason. They're on the hit for Cooper Kupp for $17 million next year, $18 million the year after that. I think the Super Bowl is going to be his last game in Seattle, and I think they're going to move on from him. They're going to extend JSN. They have Rashid Shaheed also as an unrestricted free agent. They got to make a decision on him. And that, I just think it opens the door for Torrey Horton to come back in year 2 and have a monster role. So I'll go with Torrey Horton. Here's a who. He might be hearing no more who's next year if he turns into a star.
And that's it. The New England Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. The Patriots win the AFC Championship, beating the Denver Broncos 10-7, and a new era of Patriots football is upon us. The Drake May, Mike Vrabel Patriots are going to the Super Bowl.
It's You Better You Bet, live from Media Row in San Francisco on Westwood One Sports. Here's Nick Kostos.
Ryan Radke with the call. Westwood One along with Mike Golick Sr. Feels like that was so long ago, the AFC Championship game, 8 days ago. The Patriots beating the Broncos 10-7 to advance to Super Bowl 60. The biggest game of the year is coming up, and it calls for a boost pack that's just as big. BetMGM rolling out the Big Game Boost Pack, giving you, dear listener and dear viewer, 3 different ways to boost the odds on your next big game bet. Here's how it works. First, this is like Shakespeare here. This thing's long.
Log in your big game boost.
I kind of want to ask Lindsay Rhodes to do the read. I will do it. Log in and your big game boost pack will be waiting for you. Next, add any big game bet to your bet slip and activate the boost token you want to use. And finally, if that bet hits with the token activated, you're getting extra winnings on top of your payout.
Extra winnings?
I mean, how amazing is, what I've always said? What's better than winnings?
Extra winnings.
Extra winnings is better than winnings. So if you want to add a little more excitement to your big game action, who doesn't, honestly? Terrorists, I would say, don't want to. Make sure you grab the Big Game Boost Pack from BetMGM. Make it legendary. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. I am very excited to welcome to You Better You Bet the great Lindsay Rhodes, who's doing unbelievable work for our friends at Sumer Sports. And if you are a real one, a longtime listener and viewer of this show, you know that we are friends of Sumer Sports. Lindsay, welcome to the show. Happy Super Bowl week.
It is happy. Super Bowl week is always happy. This is my first thing since I have arrived in San Francisco that is related to work.
Okay.
And I'm so excited to kick this off.
What have you done so far, non-work related, in San Francisco?
Gone to dinner.
What'd you have?
We went to Mission Chinese.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like my coworker Sam Brockhouse is a big foodie guy, but he's like the guy who finds like the real spots in each town that are not the like.
Did he succeed or no?
In terms of finding the spot?
Yeah, was it good?
Food was very good. I feel like we end up going to a lot of places that sort of look a little bit hole in the wally. You know, that are like where the real people go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Little hipstery, you know, in that sense. But it was very good.
I want to maybe ask this question to every guest that we have on site. Can you get stoned walking around in the streets of San Francisco?
Has not happened to me yet, but it is funny that you asked that question because I have wondered.
I left my hotel yesterday. I was like, it feels like I'm back in college right now, like in my dorm room.
The Uber had to drop me off a couple of blocks away from the hotel because they had blocked off streets.
Yep.
And I got out and had to kind of situate myself. And I was like, should I move and situate myself somewhere else? Because there's definitely a contact high happening here.
It is. It's wild. And I want to get your opinion on the game, obviously, and who you think's going to win Super Bowl 60. But we were talking a little bit off air, and you were tweeting about it, right, this weekend when the news broke, and Diana Rossini of The Athletic put it out there. And I haven't talked about it yet on the show, so just to say this and give a quick opinion here. Obviously, if I were Diana Rossini and I got this story, I would put it out also.
Yeah.
So what she wrote was, with the Vikings firing of general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, which kind of took the league by surprise this past weekend.
The timing of it, yeah.
Yeah, because he's at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. It's like, why did this happen then? Right. You know, a story gets leaked to Diana that it kind of turned some people in the league off that Kwesi, when his child was born a couple of years ago, took 2 weeks of paternity leave. And people in the league kind of look side-eyed at this. And this kind of resonated with me because I'm a new dad.
Yeah.
And my daughter is 2 in May. And I took a month off for paternity leave, and I would do it again. Like, if I have another child, I will do that again. And just curious, you know, because you put an opinion out there, and I think you got a lot of, like, dumb responses, candidly. Kind of like...
Some of them were, yes.
Your opinion on that, the story, and kind of how the league has viewed it.
Well, more than anything, I think that... I think, look, there's so many different ways that you could look at that particular story. Zooming out and saying, first of all, his team's... they won, 14 games last year? So this happened in 2023. So the paternity leave is not at all tied to him getting fired. Let's just be clear about that. I think it's a layer to the way people maybe viewed him around the league. And when Rossini and other reporters start reaching out to people, say, isn't this weird that they fired him at this time of the year? They might have opinions about him, and this might have framed part of their opinions about him. I think that the league is made up very much, and I think we're at a very, very much an inflection point of the league where there's very much like an old school and a new school way of looking at all things in terms of football decision making. And so I think this was probably framed by some of that. People that came up sleeping on couches and in organizations where you had to sleep on couches. We've all seen coaches and general managers, but primarily coaches are coming to mind, like Bruce Arians, who said, you go to a recital. If I hear that you're missing your kids' recitals or games because of this, I will fire you. I want you to have a work-life balance. You don't have to sleep at the office. There are other ways to get this stuff done. And I think that there are lots of examples of that. And I think if he had, let's say, everyone is allowed in the NFL. I know it is an NFL policy, by the way, that you are allowed paternity leave. If he doesn't take it, then how are the people on his staff that work for him going to feel like it's okay for them to take it, right? So to a degree, you could look at this as a leadership opportunity for him to set an established boundary and say these boundaries are okay to have. And I think that is a solid leadership tactic in addition to, I think, it being the right move for your life, which should be more important.
Yeah, and I think where my mind goes with this, candidly, like the pursuit of greatness, right? And grinding, right? And I hope to continue to get better at my job, right? And I'm a grinder. And I feel like it's great. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because it allows me, I think I'm very good professionally, but it hurts me in my personal life, right?
Yeah.
Where I have candidly have conversations with my wife where at what point do you kind of like let up a little bit? And the fear is always that if I let up, then all the people that are striving really hard around me, well, do they surpass me?
Yeah.
And you feel like you can never turn it off. And you're on your phone and you're constantly thinking and you're constantly tinkering. And I think this brings up a really interesting point where kind of like, and it doesn't have to just be, right, coaching or being a GM in the NFL, whatever your job is and whatever your walk of life is, where do you kind of draw, and it can be you personally or just like thoughts in general, where does the line get drawn where you say, you know what, like I need to spend more time with my family? I struggle with this in my personal life, and I feel like a lot of professionals, like if you want to be great, if you don't want to be great, you never worry about this, right? But if you want to be great, I think it's something that a lot of us deal with, right? And given what you've achieved in your career, I'm guessing this has been something you've thought about.
Oh, 100%. Especially my career originally was just broadcasting. And so as a female in broadcasting, there's definitely a sense of you have a limited window until they will no longer put you on camera. And you will age out. The men will be allowed to die on camera, but you will not be. And so you have a window.
I would like to die on camera.
Well, there are some that I think are actually like going for that.
I won't ask you to name names, but yes.
So you always know that the shelf life is small, and there's definitely a scarcity mentality, I think, where you know that there's a bunch of people that are willing to step in if you step away. And so people are, I mean, we're talking about paternity leave. I know a lot of women are scared to take maternity leave, right?
How crazy is that?
I know. But I do think that I learned a hard lesson where this is concerned, because I'm very much a grinder too, and I have a hard time stepping away. And then all of a sudden 2020 came along and my contract was up and COVID was happening and NFL Network let me go. And I was at a point in time where I had a very harsh reality of like, oh, all of this work that I feel like I've done to kind of position myself in such a place where I am indispensable, I'm still dispensable. And so you sort of watch that
for all
happen.
Of us, you know? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to make choices that you will feel comfortable with for the rest of your life about the things that actually are going to matter in the end. And I know that's getting like way, way, way deeper.
No, it's true.
But I think there is a way to balance it.
I'm reading, and then like I want to go lightning round to close, but I'm reading Bill Walsh leadership book, like the legendary coach of the Niners, and he would, before he passed away, would do business seminars and would say to them, like, how do you know when you're doing the job? And he would say, when you're up at night with a pit in your stomach and you have no appetite and you're like losing your relationship with your wife and kids, speaking as a man, right? That's when you know you're doing the job. And it's almost like, what is the cost of greatness? I kind of like want to do like a podcast just separately. What is the cost of greatness and the personal cost that comes with it? But that is a story for another time. A couple more minutes here with Lindsay Rhodes of Sumer Sports on Twitter at Lindsay_Rhodes. And my sincere recommendation for my audience, Lindsay's a lot of people, and I would put myself in this class, honestly. Not every tweet I put out is that informative or that great. I actually think like all of your tweets, like you learn something from, talking NFL or otherwise, at Lindsay_Rhodes on Twitter. Lightning round to close, like 15 to 20 seconds per.
Sure.
Who do you like in Super Bowl 60 and why?
The Seahawks.
You sound like you're on the fence.
No, I'm not at all on the fence. I'm trying to think of how to say why in 15 seconds.
Go 30.
I think that their defense is going to be too strong. I think that they're going to be able to get pressure without blitzing. I don't know that Drake May is going to be able to handle it, and I don't know that the Patriots have an answer for JSN.
MVP of the game, and you nailed it, by the way.
Thank you. I'm going to go with JSN.
Yeah, JSN, I think, will be my choice as well when it comes down to it. Favorite head coaching hire of this cycle?
Oh, I don't really like many of them.
Really?
I don't. You know, my favorite coaching hire of this cycle is Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
He's going to slam, right?
It's going to be so different than it was in Miami. What he can do with Justin Herbert is so different. I think it's going to make it very obvious what he did to account for the weaknesses of Tua's game.
And I would say, how about going from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel, just the difference in Los Angeles as well. You can answer this question however you want. Least favorite coaching hire of the cycle. Can be head coach or coordinator.
Honestly, there are a few. I feel like this is a very uninspired coaching cycle. I don't really love Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't either. I think if you wanted to win 10 games, it's a great hire, but the Steelers need to be striving for something
The
better
whole
than
point is to get them over the hump
to
and
win
to
the
do
Super Bowl.
something special. You got to, take a risk in order to do that. This is not that.
You guys at Sumer Sports are going to have an unbelievable week this week. And we're going to have former WWE superstar Big E on
He's
the
the
show.
best, by
I
the
mean,
way.
look, you don't have to sell me on that as a diehard WWE fan. So Big E is doing work with Sumer Sports. He'll join us later this week. And
is like, what?
Yeah, it's awesome. And Eric Eager's been on the show a million times. Tell us about the shows that you're doing at Sumer Sports. I think our audience will really groove on this.
We're doing a draft show. Why is a data company doing a TV show? There's so much content around the draft that is, these are the conversations that we have that are very, like I mentioned, how there's old school and new school ways to look at things. We have a scouting department. We have a data arm. We have a fully fleshed out tech department. And there are all of these different ways to evaluate players now that feel very modern and different. And also because we have this whole scouting arm, all of these people who have been trained their whole lives to never tell you anything that they think. Everything's proprietary. Everything's a secret. They don't even share their 40 times with the reporters that are at these pro days, right? Now we're sitting there and we're talking to them about what they think about this class right now. They're doing their evaluations just like they always have, but they're making them public. And then we're having a chance to talk to them about it and see if the data agrees. I think it's going to be a really, really cool show. And I think you guys will very much like it.
Well, I think my audience, loves football, because otherwise, why are you watching and listening to the show? So I think that they will very much groove on it. You mentioned this was your first interview, right?
Yes.
Radio Row this week. When we get to the end, will you remember this one?
Of course, 10 out of 10. I don't think that many people are going to ask me my thoughts on maternity and paternity leave.
I loved your tweets on it, and I had such a strong opinion, and I hadn't gotten a chance to do it in the show today. And just at some point, just my opinion, a line has to be drawn, and you have to spend time with your family. And I love the conversation.
I totally agree. I'm glad you feel that way too.
And here's what if you have a kid, I don't know how you don't feel.
100%.
If you have a kid.
Yeah, there are people who have kids who are somehow telling me all the ways they don't feel that way. So good luck with that.
Great stuff. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Lindsay Rhodes joining us here on You Better You Bet. On the other side, friend of the show, Mike Sando of The Athletic.
Yay,
on Westwood
he's the best.
He's the best on Westwood One Sports.
Yeah, this is was really a 1A, 1B for me. I mean, I love Wrigley Field with a fiery passion, but I've been to this venue and it is iconic. I think it's still a little bit underrated on the national scene, and it is unlike any other sports arena in the country to see a hoops game, and that's Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, the home of the Purdue Boilermakers. Of course, Illinois just won there over the weekend, but you're right on top of the action. They see about 14,000 in there. It is rowdy, it is raucous, and it is downright loud. It is unlike any other basketball arena in the country. You know, some of the, the ones that are, they're all in the round, obviously, but like the United Center is rather cavernous. This is not, even though it's got 14,000 people in there. Again, you're right on top of everything. You can hear everything. It's just an amazing place. The energy is through the roof. And bar none, my opinion, Mackey Arena takes the cake here. Best venue in sports to see any type of game, and preferably, of course, hoops.
This is You Better You Bet, live from San Francisco on Westwood One Sports. Here's your host, Nick Kostos.
All right, let's just get into it here, because joining us on the show, it was one thing when, I've said this about you in, the last couple weeks, because you've kind of become like Mike Sandoz with us from The Athletic. You've kind of become right, wrong, or indifferent. I think for them it's great. Like the mouthpiece for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and like the electors and everything. It was one thing when you were just like the smartest guy in the room, which I think you are. And I say that when you're not here also. We've had conversations about the game Wordle where I'm just like, this guy's so much smarter than me. I'm not even sure we're the same species. But you've been working out, man. And now you're jacked.
Come on.
Can you leave something for the rest of us?
Come
Mike Sando with us on the show.
Come on. Well, yeah, I'm working out to get rid of my frustrations on the Hall of Fame process. I can tell you that. I have to do 100 push-ups every time we screw something up in there, and so I've done about 20 million.
No wonder you're so yoked, man.
Seriously, I'll say this about the Hall of Fame.
Can I ask you this first? Yeah. Only because I've said a couple times over the course of when I've been promoting your appearance, and people are really excited for this, that the first question I was going to ask you is what the hell's wrong with the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Yeah. So, Mike Sando, I ask you in person, what the hell is wrong with the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I'm going to start. We're going to do that. I'm going to tell you what's right about it. The people that run it are great, and they have high integrity, okay? They really want what's best. However, they have made some changes to the voting process that have clashed with what we might call the senior committee mafia of the Hall of Fame. And what that means is the league or the Hall of Fame tried to make it more exclusive to get in, and so they changed the math so in theory it's harder to get in. At the same time, a good number of the voters, bigger than I realized, but we've seen a couple guys write about it. Vahe Gregorian's a writer from Kansas City. Mike Chappell's a writer from Indy. They've said they did this. They are so focused on getting senior candidates in because they feel like, and this year it's Roger Craig, it's Ken Anderson, it's Elsie Green. They feel like this is their one chance to get in. So they're voting for these guys and leaving off more deserving people like Bill Belichick. So when you have this harder math where Bill Belichick or anyone else needs 40 of the 50 votes to get in, that becomes super costly if you have 15 guys checking the boxes for all 3 seniors just because they want to push them through. So the break in the process is those guys on the committee have to do what I do, in my opinion, which is put the best guys in, or they have to separate the players, the senior players, from the coach and the contributor, because always, truth of Hall of Fame, the closer you are to the ball, the closer you are to the Hall. Players beat coaches who beat contributors, okay? That's just the way it is, and it doesn't matter if you're, I guess it doesn't matter, I thought it mattered. It doesn't matter if you're Don Shula or Bill Belichick. You're going to lose to players because these guys want to get the seniors in. And they've written about it. I'm not revealing something from inside the room because I didn't understand it until I was outside of the room. And
does it piss you off?
It does. But I've implored people to vote the best in that class this year. The issue we have is that people have been if you've been on the committee 10 or 15 years, you look at this as a long-term process. You're not evaluating it in any one year. You're thinking, okay, we got these 3 seniors. It's finally our chance to get Roger Craig in or whoever. You're not looking at it to, hey, we're going to evaluate these guys just this year with blinders. And that's what I do. Of course, I know the rest of the history. I know some certain guys who, as seniors, should probably get in. But I'm evaluating this class against itself. Who are the best of this? And you can't go wrong when you pick the best. When you try to manipulate the process, you get unintended consequences. I don't think anyone in that room wanted Belichick to miss, probably. I mean, not more than 10. But it happened, and to me, it's an embarrassment and needs to be rectified.
So how does it get rectified?
Well, there's a nuclear option, which is cave to public pressure, blow up the whole committee, and start over. I don't think that would necessarily look good.
What do you think that's what's best?
No, I think, I'm not saying that selfishly either. I think I do bring a fair amount to the process, but I think it's bigger than any one of us. I think I like making it harder to get in. I think the Hall's fine doing that. Separate players. Let's not have apples and oranges in the same basket. Separate these things out. Now, I would also have a stern talk with the selectors and say, hey, our goal here, our stated goal to make this about the elite of the elite means we have to evaluate each class and take the elite from that class. And I would emphasize that. But you make this way easier if you take players away from contributors and coaches. And they used to do this. There used to be a separate lane for these guys, and they would generally go in. If somebody would go in, no one's going to vote again. If it's just a Belichick gets in the Hall of Fame, 48 hands are going up out of the 50, maybe 50. But that's not what they're making them do. And so people are making choices that you or I wouldn't make. And from the outside, these look like stupid choices. I kind of think that they are.
Like not just, and to be fair,
yeah,
not just, and no one's implying malice, right? These are not like stupid choices. These are like the stupidest choices, right? Is that fair to say?
Well, I think if you I wouldn't say that. It's misguided.
And I think you know me well enough. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say that.
Yeah.
Just like,
yes.
I said this to you last year. And this is where, and I'm happy we're having this conversation because you're like illuminating this for a lot of us, right? Because you're actually in it. Where the TO thing for me was like such a non-starter where like I watched this guy play.
Yeah.
Maybe you can make the case now that he's like the 4th or 5th best wide receiver of like my life. At the time, he's 3rd behind like Jerry and Randy, right? He has to wait till year 3. And it's personal bias, right, that leaves him out. And then Belichick doesn't get in, and everyone's mind goes to, it's Spygate, or he's mean to the media. And it actually makes me feel a little better if you're really close to it, I'm not.
Yeah.
If it's, hey, it's actually not, at least in the case of Belichick, personal bias, and there are other reasons why.
Yeah, I don't think it's personal bias at all because, so if there's 50 selectors in the room, most of them have not dealt with Bill Belichick day to day. Bill Belichick is difficult for the media on Monday and Wednesday when they're trying to ask him about his team. He's an absolute gem for the historians on the committee and stuff. If you want to ask him about a certain player, he'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I even talked to him face to face, he didn't even know who I was, and I was in there with some Hall of Fame stuff. He was money. And he was great. He wasn't just like put in this Patriot.
Give us a Belichick story from like you talking to him about the Hall of Fame.
Well, several years ago, I had done something about I came up with a way to look at wide receivers across eras and their production because the stats have changed. There's more games. They're feeding the ball to these guys. The game's different.
It's like, how do you compare like Lance Allworth to Calvin Johnson?
So the way I did it was, I just really quickly, as I said, you know what? We should really be evaluating about the 8 best seasons of these guys, okay? Because some guys will play way more than that, but most people aren't going to have more than that elite numbers of years. But we don't want to do less than that. 8's a good number to. So I said, hey, where did you rank in receiving yards in your 8 best seasons in that year? So if Don Hudson is first 6 times and Jerry Rice is 6 times, that's the same with different eras. So I had this kind of cool thing. So I think I took it to Bill one year, or something, and showed it to him, and he was very intrigued by it, and he liked it. And then I can't remember, what he said, but there's a couple receivers in there that he was like, ooh, this guy. So for me as a selector, that's very valuable. It doesn't mean I'm going to just vote how he would do it because he sees part of the picture too. But we put all this stuff together, okay, and you learn over time how it goes. There's not people in that room who are like, hey, he's short with the media. We're not going to do that. But the Spygate thing, there is a component of that, and there's also, I think, some people.
Do you think it's merited?
Not to do a no vote. I think it's merit. It needs to be in the story. If we're going to do, if you're writing in advance the obituaries for all these guys, Spygate's going to be in there. It's not going to be in the first paragraph for me. It's not going to be in the second paragraph. It's going to be somewhere in there. It's going to be in the top half of it, right? But to me, it's not a disqualifier. Now, they also, get this, they also changed the rules to where the coaches don't have to wait 5 years, 1 year. I know that annoys people who think we're putting in too many people on the first ballot and other people are falling by the wayside.
But for players, I think, for coaches, I think it's a different story.
It is a different story, except they're in the same bucket as players. Yeah. We have to pick them.
That's what has to change. Because like Mike Shanahan should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. But the coaches, it's easy because you got Shanahan, you got Holmgren, you got Belichick. There's really not that many. I mean, you can't name,
Coughlin?
Coughlin will be in the conversation for sure, but then you're getting after
I'm
that.
A Giants fan.
After that, you're getting into Marty Schottenheimers and Chuck Knoxes and guys who are great coaches who didn't win it all. Yeah. So separate the lane, and this totally cleans up. But I've learned that there's people that will vote seniors over logic. That's the takeaway from this, and they've said it. That's not from in the room. That's from their columns.
Honestly, that's a way better answer than. It's not a good answer, but it's way better than the alternative.
We're not going to relitigate T.O., but T.O. I was a big supporter of T.O. and the production.
But how could you not be? I guess, right?
Well, because if you value the first ballot thing, and then you. Like when we're in there discussing this, the Hall of Fame is the people in the room are super vigilant about if one person starts to go outside the lane of your production on the field, they interject and say, you can't do it. Kind of like a judge to a jury, right? But there was a big discussion with him that's been public about did he undermine his teams? That when you have to have the thing on the driveway and they blow up the Eagles and he's undercutting Donovan McNabb, there were some people who were, I think, in their minds were like, hey, I'm going to vote for some other guys who were all the way through. I disagree.
120 yards in the Super Bowl on a broken leg.
And not only that, there was another one. I was just talking to Clarence Hill about this.
He's a longtime Cowboys reporter.
We were just talking about there was another big injury thing he played through. What was the other?
I don't remember. The broken leg is the one.
The broken leg in the Super Bowl, but
Randall Gay.
There's another. I mean, he's a super courageous. The big catch he made against the Packers. He
from Steve Young. That was like his in 97.
Can you believe it?
I
was standing on the sideline for that. Can you believe that?
That's pretty cool. I was watching
right there.
I was watching in my parents' basement.
I was down there because I was covering the Seahawks, and they were going to hire Mike Holmgren if he lost. They said, "Sando, get down." This is when newspapers traveled, So back then, the final 5 minutes of the game, you went down to the field. They don't do that anymore. Yeah. We went on the field to be ready to go in, so I'm standing right there. It was unbelievable. Just a great scene.
A strike from Steve Young to Terrell, 30-27 to beat the Packers in that game?
Yeah, I was 30-20. It could have been. It was something like that. I don't know the score, but it was awesome.
Just love the stuff.
He's a great player, Terrell Owens, and should go right in.
Come on. That's what – it's just –
But last year was a hint to me. In retrospect, I've learned. So last year I was a little bit like, wait a minute. Eric Allen made it through – in his 19th year of eligibility, he's been a finalist twice, and Luke Kuechly didn't make it. Luke Kuechly is a Defensive Rookie of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year, a 5-time All-Pro. Yeah. He had a shorter career.
And Eric Allen was not an Eric
Allen was a great player. But in my mind, I was going, okay, wait a minute. They made it harder to get in, but we're not now prioritizing the elite because Luke Kuechly would be the elite. So this year, watch, Drew Brees is up. He better make it. But Larry Fitzgerald's up.
He got to make
it.
it.
Like if there's some of those guys like that don't make it, and then we're talking about someone who's been waiting 15 years that the average person on the street doesn't even know when they played, then we got a problem.
You are like very smart and very measured. I can tell this makes you mad.
Yeah.
So like when this happened, like are you, like take us through your emotion when this, and you actually like. I'm trying to think of the right way I want to phrase this. You basically took the slings and like you stepped up to the plate on social media and was like, I'm going to explain this to everybody.
I'm explaining it. I'm not defending it, though, and so I want to make that distinction. I can explain dispassionately how that it happened. This is like
nobody else was doing. I think you deserve so much credit.
Yeah. The Hall should possibly be doing it, but like to me, this is a plane that crashed on the runway, and there's no way the NTSB never shows up. It's just crashing, and everyone's like, well, I think a guy from seat 3C took down the pilot. And someone else says, well, that plane was never maintained. And no one knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm like, NTSB, right here, here's what happened. And then people go, oh, I don't like that, but I understand it.
Can the reputation of the right, wrong, or indifferent, can the reputation of the Hall of Fame be restored here? Because it's taken a huge, again, whether right, wrong, or indifferent,
yes.
can it get restored?
It can over time. It can't this year or next week. It can't, but it can through transparency. I think the biggest problem with the Hall of Fame is the lack of transparency. And I don't believe that we should necessarily have an open meeting that everybody could see, because you do need to be able to talk frankly in a way that, hey, some of us have relationships with guys in here or whatever, but I want to be able to say, I don't believe this guy should or whatever in a private room. That's fine. But we should explain our thinking. We should explain our thinking on this and explain how things happen, because the lack of transparency is in anything. In government, we see this a lot. The lack of transparency is what leads to conspiracy theories and leads people on things that are not even wrong, but they're the most plausible thing they can come up with. And so be transparent. If we're transparent on this, I think every voter should explain themselves.
Love it. Impossible yes or no question. As a Giants fan, I'm asking you, Eli Manning Hall of Famer?
Well, I think it's debatable.
We have like a minute, right?
Yeah,
okay, so we have like
I have 1 minute. Exactly. I got to do the next one.
Great.
I think that is going to be difficult for him under the new setup where you have the harder math.
Mike, we got to do something about this. We got to get my guy in.
But I had a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, talked to him in the last couple of weeks, and he said, I'm glad I got in when I did. I wouldn't get in now because of the math.
You're the best. Mike
Thank
Sando
you.
here on You Better. You're a stud, dude.
I don't know about that, but I love doing this stuff.
I appreciate
I've just been around a while.
Mike Sando here on You Better You Bet. I don't have a chance to thank everybody. Everybody was awesome. Black and Abdallah coming up next on Westwood One Sports. I will catch everybody on a terrific football Tuesday. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Want to say goodbye?
Goodbye, thanks.
Mike Sando, our final guest here on this Monday from Radio Row.